welcome on in to another fresh stream from your pal Ina Beta. With us as always is this little fat guy, hanging out, doing his thing, chilling on the cuddle throne, putting out them positive vibes, them relaxing vibes, those passively aggressively waiting for a treat vibes, as he do, you know. Good to see everybody. Hope your guys' weekend was good. Tonight we're going to talk all about that mysterious, maybe not so mysterious if you study the brain, that part of the brain called the amygdala, right? Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. It's often talked about hand in hand with emotions. We're going to talk all about that tonight. It's going to be less of a process-oriented stream tonight because that's still under research, especially in humans. It's going to be more of a here's kind of how people think things work. Here's things that are definitely not true in research. Here's some interesting research that shows some interesting results. It's going to be more like one of those kind of streams tonight. I don't think we've really done too many of those yet, so I'm interested in seeing how it is. Anyways, though, Ninja, Kyle, good to see you guys as always. Hope you guys are doing well. Scribo, welcome back. Good to see you. Again. Glad to have you. And I see you guys took out Django Beantoe, which means this little fat one gets a treat. And y'all, I guess some kitty cam. Also means that I moved my cameras around this weekend because we had somebody staying in the guest room. So that didn't get put back quite the same way, and that's okay. I'll have to empty some more treats into Fat Boy's bowl soon. Thank you guys for donating again to Fat Boy's Fat Belly Fund, dedicated to keeping him the fattest kitty on Twitch. He appreciates it. I swear, I appreciate it. You all love it. It is a win-win-win, everybody. I'm doing well, Scriba. Doing well. Completing your assignment? Just here to say hi, no problem. Thank you for spending any second of your time here doing just that. Hope your assignment goes well. If you need some help on your assignment and we can help, let me know. The science assignment, I got your back. Anything else? I don't freaking know. Sounds like y'all have been watching a little bit about My Time at Portia, which we're going to play after the talk about the amygdala today. Is I've seen people making some references and possibly giving some hints in chat, which is fine. I'm fine with that. Just don't be spoiling nothing for me. Yeah. So it looks like you guys are pretty into the My Time at Portia soon or already. Hope you guys enjoy it when we play it later. Hope I enjoy it because it's pretty fun so far, and I've seen a little bit of other people playing it some, and seems very much gathering and crafting oriented. I don't know. We're gonna find out. You know. That's all, Ninja. You were talking about Doris. I thought Doris was a person in this game. I saw you mention that you read the tooltip, but I also thought you mentioned somebody else in the game. So, oh, okay. Yeah. Basically, that is Ina Beta. AKA J.E. Baited. I'm not sure the full name I forget the full name of J.E. Baited. That's Orange Ninja's realm. He remembers it. That's me debated though. I thought Ninja had seen it before. Got me good. That's the last time I trust Ninja. I mean, they always say never trust a ninja, and I don't know what the hell I was doing. I don't know why I thought this would be any different. I don't know why I thought that. That's my bad. Self got him indeed. Freaking got me, dude. That's not a got him, that's a got me. You know? You never played either, Kyle, but your wife is very excited to see the gameplay. Cool. Hope she enjoys it. I played about 30 seconds of it yesterday just to kind of like get it dialed in and see where like the cams and stuff needed to be during it and all that, and get a feel for the sound and all that. So yeah. I went out and murdered a level 5 llama with my bare hands. It wasn't even difficult. I shudder to think what my character will be able to do at later levels. I'm just saying. I mean, that was a level 5 llama. Murdered without taking a scratch. And I even picked up a piece of its poop afterwards. Didn't even care. What will our character be capable of? I don't know. Scriba said it actually is. Oh, you're right. Actually working on a science. Got it. Writing a thing on DNA sequencing. Ooh. You have no idea what the words are in English. Oh yeah, I don't know too much about DNA sequencing, unfortunately. That's one thing I don't know much about that I would like to know more about. That and toxicology are two areas of medicine and or neuroscience I would love to know more about, for sure. Sorry, I don't have too much to help you on that one. Gotta get you a strong bowly ready to eat? Hell yeah, Ninja. Enjoy that. Stromboli make you strong bowly. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad you're doing well too, Kyle. What'd you guys get up to this weekend? Anything nifty? Anything at all? Oh, ouch. So today at work, yesterday we had off because of Mulk Day. That's pretty dope. Went and did some pub trivia last night, which I haven't been able to do in a long time. Anybody else a fan of the pub trivia? I'm a fan of it. I like going and testing my brain. I love riddles and just basically taking tests and brain teasers, things like that. I freaking love them because I'm a straight up nerd like that. Nerd life. Fight me. I keep this strong. I will slap or karate chop. I don't care which. Okay? Fight me. I love it. But since I'm no longer busy, still a little sick, sorry. Since I'm no longer busy on Monday nights, I actually got to go with my wife and her friends to the nearby pub trivia that we go to. We used to go to Monday nights all the time. It's freaking dope. Before, you know, I was streaming on Mondays and then had stuff with the friends on Mondays, and now I'm keeping it open so I can go do that on Mondays. It's fun. I missed it. I enjoyed it. It was good. Kyle said, I don't do that stuff because I don't have a good memory for anything that could actually be useful. I mean, most of the stuff on there's not really useful. One of the questions they asked was like, what was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s father's name? Yeah, things like that. There's two countries that are like fighting over the supposed birthplace of St. Patrick. What's one of the countries? I mean, like, most of it's not really important stuff. It's really cool mix of questions. It's not all like super random stuff. It's always themed, and there's always science questions, which I freaking love. There's always 2 science questions, and I usually nail them. There's always an anagram. There's always pop culture questions. There's always cool stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah, we didn't know that stuff either. It's ridiculous. Yeah, fun going to watch. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's fun. That's all it's for, is it's fun. They have delicious food there. They have a vegan menu now that I had like the best, well, one of the only burgers I've had since going vegan. It was delicious. It tastes just like a regular freaking hamburger. I wouldn't even have known the difference. It was so delicious. Oh snap. Nari? We're rolling on over with 7 of her friends. Welcome on in, Nari and friends. It's good to see you guys. I'm going to welcome you guys properly in just a moment because you're probably hitting ads right now. Give you guys about 10 seconds. Rerun times 5. Good to see you. Ninja, I haven't forgotten. Thank you. Nari, well, welcome in, friend. How the heck are you doing? We get a shout out for Nari, please. She's coming on back to the Strimmins. And also, Kyle's got a kitty to add. If you would be so kind, Ninja. But yeah, Nari and friends, welcome on in. My name is Ina Beta. We talk about neuroscience topics, psychology topics, other science-related topics here on stream. We also play some variety gaming. Tonight we're talking all about the amygdala, part of the brain usually associated with emotions. And then we're going to check out My Time at Porsche after that, for sure. Any of that sounds like your jam, we'd love to see you around. You know what to do. I missed a message from Scriba earlier talking about his assignment with genetics. It's really interesting. He says, we'll get an A on this for sure. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that, Scriba. Put a bit too much effort into it. No, that's not, no. There's no such thing. Still gotta do math, French, and German tonight. Dang, you're taking multiple languages too? You must be from Europe, it sounds like. Awesome. I'm glad that you're learning so many languages. That's something we tend not to focus on here as much in America. We're required to take a couple years of one language, and that's about it. It's because in our country, we don't really need to know any other languages besides English to get by, usually. It's helpful to know other ones, but we just don't need it. I'm glad you're doing well, Nari. I'm glad to hear that. What's new with you? What's new? What's good? Hey, no problem, Scriba. We'll check you later. Take it easy. Frames? Don't do it. Frames? I'm seeing that square change color. Don't do this to me, OBS. Thank you, Ninja, for adding the 517th kitty. The king of the Lich Kitties, named Arthas. Added to the kitty club. Nari just tried out Jurassic World. That's pretty chill. Nice. Jurassic World. Do I know that game? It's an MMO. It's not an MMO. Why isn't there a freaking Jurassic Park MMO yet? That'd be freaking dope. Wow. Oh, is that the Park Builder one? Jurassic World's the Park Builder one, right? That's the one. I think that's it. That's a sweet macro there, Kyle. Or Ninja. That's dope. Ah, it's the Park Builder one. That's, I have seen a bit of that one. That's right. That's right. MMO would be freaking sick. I'm just saying. There's probably one in the works. I'm just saying that would be dope. I don't know why they don't have one already. I don't know why not. You could be like, you could be humans. You could be dinosaurs. Come on. Where's this at? Where's this at? I don't know why it's not being done already. This is crazy talk. But anyways, yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, pub trivia last night. Good times. Plan to go more. It was good times. I love them brain teasers and such. Those science questions. Nail them every time. Anagram question. Nailed it. It was awesome. I actually posed the question to you guys. Furiously writing notes about Dino MMO? Do it. There you go. I feel like dinos would be OP AF. They might be, Ninja. I don't know. Not sure. I'm not sure. But anyways, the anagram that we answered last night. If you guys are interested, let me know if you can find the answer to it. It's one word. It's an anagram for the two words. Oh gosh, what was it? Oh no, I can't remember it now. Well, never mind. I can't tell you because I don't remember it now. Oh, man. Never mind. Rip indeed. I forgot what it is. Also, there's a question of the day. Just to promote conversation, get to know each other a little bit better, learn how y'all tick. The world's under attack. You can bring one famous, real, historical figure and one piece of technology to fight. Who and what do you bring, and what do you do? Tell me all about it. Hey, boy. Something random that popped into my head. I'd love to hear you guys' answer to this. We talk all about it. And today at work is pretty boring. We talked about like lockdown procedures and stuff like that in response to school shootings and stuff like that. And it was it's never a fun subject to learn about. You know, it's not something you sign up for as an educator. You know. So, yeah, that wasn't fun to learn about, but it was, I suppose, practical, and I'll be glad to know it when it comes up. But yeah, it's not a fun topic. It's very uncomfortable for many people there. And it's true, Ninja, I did not say the technology had to be real. I didn't. I meant it, but I didn't say it. Ninja said Teddy Roosevelt, actually the same person I chose, because the dude's a badass. And a death laser. Alright. Alright. Respect. Respect. Yeah, I'm guessing you just go in guns blazing, Ninja. I'm guessing you just do that. When, yeah, Kyle, I mean, it could happen. I don't know. I'm not anticipating it will happen at our school, but like, you never know. You just never freaking know. Nobody was anticipating the shootings that happened at any school, so. You know, Teddy Roosevelt, you don't even need the death laser. Nope, he's just that much of a badass. That's it. We'll freaking knock out all the aliens, establish a national park. Good to go. Just wrestle everything to the ground. Exactly, yeah. I mean, Teddy Roosevelt was known to jump like thousands of feet into the air, so he could knock down a spaceship. Death lasers for you? Exactly, I get it. I figured. I figured. I would choose Teddy Roosevelt, like you said, because the dude's a badass. And then also the most virulent engineered virus that the CDC has to offer. Because them being aliens, I would think that they wouldn't have the kind of immune system that would stand up to a virus or bacteria of that caliber on our planet. So that would be my best bet. I would use that. I mean, Teddy would get out there and kick ass and distract them, and I could like toss the virus into a population of them, let it spread, and they all die. I would think. I'm just saying. That's all. Kyle would bring Abraham Lincoln. He hunts vampires and an axe. Okay. All right. I'm down with that. I guess you just go kick ass. People keep bringing American presidents. I mean, some of them are pretty dope. Some of them were quite badass. Abraham Lincoln was a bit allergic to bullets, but you know, other than that, should be fine. I don't think the aliens would be using bullets anyways. They'd probably be using lasers. I hear tell that Abraham Lincoln's pretty resistant to lasers, so. You love that stupid movie? Yeah, the movie's silly, but it was alright. The book was pretty dope too. It was okay. I can get behind it. Teddy Roosevelt, however, quite resistant to bullets. So he got shot once while he was giving a speech, not coming down until he was finished. Hell no. That bullet wasn't even bothering him, dude. I think he just like flexed the bullet out onto the stage and continued, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know. But good choice about the lasers, you know. I mean, I don't know how Teddy Roosevelt would stand up to lasers. I couldn't say. Redtacular, what's up, man? Redtacular, good to see you. How the heck are you? How was your weekend? Get in on that question of the day, man. We're having a good conversation. I want to hear what you have to say about this, dude. And I want to hear anything else about what's good, too. Kyle said I watched that movie, and then later that year, the Lincoln movie, the well-done dramatic one. So it was like you watched his entire lifetime in office. Yeah, some real, some not. It's dope, right? You get that Abraham Lincoln overload. It was fine. Kyle, what's up? Ninja's maybe having a stroke there. He's having trouble typing people's names tonight. Okay. How you doing, Red? Good to see you, man. Kyle looked fine. What are you talking about? That looks dope. Redtacular sipping coffee like he do, obviously. Obviously. Yeah, what's good? Or what's good, Red? What you up to this, or what did you do this weekend? I had a 3-day weekend. It was freaking dope. Got that MLK day off. It was nice. It's question of the day! Exclamation point Q. Red, I brought it back. I brought it back round. I brought it back. There it is. Kyle said if Red didn't have coffee, he'd be worried for this world. I would too. I don't know. I don't think we'd like Red without coffee. That's what I've heard anyways. You wouldn't like him when he hasn't had coffee. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying that that's what I've heard. I don't want to test that. Ninja said I could double down on the Teddy strap, forget the death laser, and bring a coffee machine so Teddy can just keep going. Or since I didn't set a limit on the technology inadvertently, clone machine, clone Teddy Roosevelts. I would say you got to keep that in check though. You got to be real careful with that because you make too many Teddy Roosevelts, they'd be unstoppable. So I'm just saying, couple of clones Teddys, they're done. The aliens are done. Every other life form in the universe is done. Yeah, the world's not ready for too many Teddys. The universe isn't either, you know. I mean, I don't think the universe could handle too many Teddys. It wouldn't be able to physically sustain that many Teddys, you know, because they eat 500 pounds of food every day each. So I just ended the human race. This is Ninja's story. What are you talking about? Dawn of the Teddyverse. I love it. Blade T-Box, what's up? Hey, good night. This is, what is this under my photo? Writing what I say? Yes. That's a website called Web Captioner, and you can capture that through OBS, and it writes what I say with questionable accuracy. How the heck you doing, Blade? Good to see you. We're gonna get started talking about the amygdala in just a few minutes, but right now I'm catching up with chat, building those connections and all that. Glad to have you here. It's always good to see you. It's always good to see a new person. And it will always be good to see you in the future. Red said, I'd probably bring back somebody well-versed in military strategy. Sun Tzu, perhaps? Okay. As for technology, not sure at all. Ugh. Alright, Red. Alright. Alright. Ninja said, then in a few years, a blockbuster movie is going to come out. Planet of the Teddies. There it is. The trick is, though, it's going to come out at Blockbuster, so I don't know how anyone's going to get a hold of it. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. I'm pretty sure Teddy Roosevelt actually uppercutted the last Blockbuster into a movie theater, so I think he should be safe, actually. Professor freaking Melko, dude. This guy, reconnecting to the neural net. Welcome in, dude. How the heck are you? Thank you for reconnecting with us. Thank you, new follower, for connecting with us as well. Love those connections. Appreciate you. Melko, how you doing? What's good? How was your weekend, dude? Hope you're doing well. Tell us all about it. And those of you in chat who hasn't had a chance to... Sorry, I'm still a little sick and getting over it. It's got some coughs once in a while. Those of you who haven't had a chance to talk about the question of the evening yet, Exclamation point Q. I would love to hear your answers. Nice mute skills. I'm on it, Kyle. I'm on it, dude. I'm on it. Long, great weekend. Oh, me too, Milko. Yeah. Had a nice 3-dayer. Got the milk day off. It was great. It was dope. Red Taco says more like Blockbuster. Got him! Indeed. Thanks for welcoming in that fresh resub with those emotes. Guys, I freaking love you using those fats beards. It's dope. Blade said, earn my follow thanks to the beard and the cat. How you guys doing? We're doing good. It seems everybody's doing well, Blade. So far as I've heard, everybody's doing well. Yeah. Got a friend lurking, working on some genetics homework, so that's cool. Got some of my favorite people in here. I'm doing well. Gonna get started with the Neuro talk eventually. Just like to catch up with a little bit of just chatting at first. Talking with people, getting to know them better. Doing well, Blade. I'm doing well. What brings you in? Besides learning about the amygdala, I would guess. While you're here, since I don't think I've seen your name before, I assume you're new, feel free to ask any questions about any of us or about the topics. Feel free to interject with your own knowledge at any point in time. Feel free to ask any other science-related questions. We're all here to learn together, okay? So do any of those things. Kyle said, we all know Fats is the star of the show. It keeps getting confirmed more and more every day. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. He does have his own body pillow. He is featured on a body pillow. Quest time. Speaking of Fats, quest time for whoever's ready. I know he's ready. He's sitting here trying not to fall asleep, waiting for the next treat. Exclamation point quest. To join that quest. If you'd like to. You want it so bad, but you don't think your wife will let you? I hear you, Kyle. No worries. No, Lecta. Welcome in, friend. Good to see you. You legit lolled the body pillow. You love it. Yeah, me too. I wish it didn't cost as much as it did. Like I said, I don't really get to choose how much it costs. They kind of set that. So, you know, profit margins and all that stuff. So I don't get to make it cost less, unfortunately. I do, however, get to buy one for myself at near cost. $1 over cost. So I'm going to see what that is and probably grab one for myself. Because they're only going to be available till the end of February, unfortunately. So, yeah, I at least want to get one before the end. I'm going to check one out. I know my wife and I would love one. It'll go beautifully on the guest bed. People can enjoy cuddling with Fats and also having some lols. Come for the lols, stay for cuddling with Fats. That's what I always say. Anyways, I see you guys took out fabulous feline fencer Felicia, which means little fat boy gets a treat. You guys get some kitty cam. Thank you guys for donating again. To Fat Boy's Fat Belly Fund. Dedicated to keeping him the fattest kitty on Twitch. He appreciates it, I appreciate it, you all love it. It's a win-win-win, huh, Fats? That's a win-win-win if I do say so myself. Oh, good boy. Thanks for cleaning my fingers. I'm always so worried that my fingers are going to have treat dust on afterwards, and Fats always takes care of me. He attack, he lick. He's got Dad on lockdown, basically. Thick boy, he is. He is indeed thick. He chomp, he thick, he run. Fats, oh my god, you're killing me. He just doesn't want to hang out here in this chair anymore. He's just over it. He just don't want to do it. Kills me. Breaks my balls every time. He gone. He gone. Exactly. There you go. So Melka, how far out before you're considered for tenure, man? It's coming up pretty quick, isn't it? It's not like end of the semester or anything, right? I hope. I hope it's soon, because I mean, you'd like to get that under your belt, and I'm sure there's not a doubt in anyone's mind that you're qualified for such. You apply this summer. Oh gosh, that's way farther away than I thought. Dang. I thought you were looking at doing that like sometime next month or something. Or I thought you'd already applied. Well, trying to get to finish up that research, get that under your belt first, or what, dude? Makes sense, I guess. Feel confident? Yeah, of course, but there's always that seed of doubt, you know? Something we'll never get rid of. A lot of paperwork to get put together, I'm sure. I'm sure, yeah. Take all semester, gotcha. Got it. Well, I'm sure the paperwork is nothing but a formality. They're just waiting for you to get that together, and then you got it, man. Can't wait to hear the good news, dude. Ari Solo, how the heck are you? Welcome on in. It's going well. It's even better now that there's another new person here. Welcome in. It's great to see you. Feel free to ask any questions or tell us anything about yourself or share any science knowledge that you have. We're going to get started talking all about the amygdala in just a moment. But we're, you know, taking some time, getting to strengthening the community a bit, getting to know each other a little bit more, things like that. You discovered me and Revolver C's channel last night. I figured you'd check me out. Well, that's awesome. I was lurking in there, so I'm surprised you saw me. I don't remember saying anything. Maybe I did. But we're glad to have you, Ari. Welcome on in. Thanks for coming over. And thanks for welcoming people in, Ari. Yes, exactly. The question of the day is very important, everybody. Please tell me what you think. You gave me a shout. Okay, yeah, that must have... Damn. I'm still getting over being sick. That must have been it. Yes. He's good about shouting out his friends, and I appreciate Revolver C. He's a stand-up guy. I didn't meet him too long ago. I'm a fan of him. Huge fan of him. Illustrious member of the lounge. He's good people. He's good people. Red says if it's any technology... See, it wasn't supposed to be any technology. It was supposed to be, like, normal technology we've got now, but I misworded it. So, whatever. Professor Mocha says, Richard Feynman and my laser. Boom. There it is. Going science all the way. Doubling down on the science. Roasted, cooking up roasted alien. Red says bringing in one immortality machine. All right, sure. I didn't know they made those, but I guess in Red's version they do. It's taken some... Yeah, yep. That would work out. Arya said we bring some antibiotics. Okay. What about the person? What would you bring antibiotics for? You'd be worried about alien diseases? That makes sense. My answer was that I was going to bring... One second. My answer was that I was going to bring Teddy Roosevelt, seconded by our boy Orange Ninja. And I was going to bring the most virulent virus that the CDC had to offer. So, yeah, I was going to toss that at some aliens and go from there. But I didn't think about, yeah, maybe they got some nasty viruses or bacteria for us. I didn't think about that. Good forward thinking, Ari. You agree with Roosevelt? Teddy Roosevelt's just a savage. You would rock him, dude. Sound like I could use some antibiotics? I probably could, but I'm almost over this. I'm almost done. Last night, I think, is probably my last sleepless or relatively sleepless night I'm going to have for a while. So, yeah, hopefully I should sleep well tonight. Tax due. Welcome in, friend. Thank you for the host. Appreciate you, man. How was your weekend? How you doing? Red says toss the flu because they ain't got our immune system. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I was talking about, you know? I don't know what I would bring. Maybe some nasty strain of Ebola or something like that. You went back to work today. That's good, Taxdu. That's very good. I'm glad to hear that, man. I know you were furloughed for too long due to the government shutdown, so I'm glad you're back in there, man. It's good. Roosevelt answer isn't bad either. FDR could totally rally the people. It's true. I mean, I guess, yeah. The other Roosevelt, yeah. I mean, yeah. Either of the Roosevelts. Good choice. Blade has a question from a guy who has a cat. A guy who has one cat to another. What would I do in the zombie apocalypse? Would I take my cat with me? Release him into nature? It's a problem with them making noises. Yeah, and Fats is declawed, so... I don't know. I would try to stay in my house as much as possible, honestly. Like, I would try to make my house home base. I don't know what I would do, honestly. I think I might have to be looking like a mercy killing. If I get a hold of a gun, I might have to put Fats down. Because I don't want him getting chomped on by zombies. And releasing him into the wild, I mean, like, he's been indoor his whole life. Even if he had claws, like, he's screwed. So, I don't know, man. That's not something I want to think about. What about you, Blade? What about you? Yeah, I don't know. It's a good thing the Zombocalypse is never going to happen. I don't have to think about that kind of stuff. Tax Dude joins the ranks of work and nope. Oh, you're not even getting paid for it. That's stupid. But then again, I mean, not much we can do about it besides hope the government decides to pay you soon. I hope you guys get back pay because, like, dude, dumb if you don't. Red says Zombocalypses are very interesting. There's so many different kinds of zombies, it's hard to prepare for one scenario. It's true. Depends on if you get walkers, you get runners, you get special types. I mean, you just don't know. That stupid perfectly sums it up. It's just stupid at this point. It really is. It's just super dumb. Like holding the country hostage over this just dumb bullshit. Come on. Come on, dude. That's something I never thought about at all, like when our current president became president. I never thought, like, in the future, like, this guy might dig his heels in and shut the government down next time there's the opportunity to get his way on stuff. I thought, like, wow, I don't know what's going to happen. It's probably a bunch of weird stuff's going to happen, a bunch of dumb stuff's going to happen. Maybe some good stuff will happen, too. I never even considered this a possibility. And here we are. Government shut down for damn near a month now, if not a full month. And no sign of stopping. Nope. Until he stomps his feet and gets his way. Exactly, Red. Exactly. Thought they'd spread faster than we could eliminate them. I don't know, Red. I don't know about that, man. Taxi said, you will for the ones you get work. For the ones you work, you usually get back pay. That's good, Taxi. I hope so. I hope so. You've been furloughed for most of this month, too, so you're at like a whole freaking month's pay. Just stupid. And just said, legit question. Why are private corporations not allowed to force their employees to work for free for a month, but the government is? Well, good question. Because, I mean, you know, corporations, we're going to stop buying stuff from them. I guess technically, if you wanted to, you don't have to be a part of this country anymore either. You can just freaking leave. That's the option. You know, you don't have to work for free for the government either. You can quit that job and get another job, or you can just leave the country. So, I mean, I guess that's the choices, you know, that's why they get to do that, because, like, what are you going to do? Leave? No. So, I think that's what it is. There's laws against, you know, and it's not like people are working for free right now. Like, they're going to get paid. They just don't have the money allocated to do so. The government's good for the money. We just don't have it allocated yet, you know? So it's not like you're working and not being paid for. You're working for free. It's just we ain't get the money on the cash on hand right now. We're still trying to figure the bills out, you know? They will be paid. It's just not yet. Red says, y'all can sleep on my couch. Come on over. I'd love to, man. If I ever make it over that way, I would definitely let Red know, like, dude, I'm in that area. Coming by, dude. Let's hook it up. Let's get together. Gotta do it. It's like my boy Orange Ninja did when he came out to California, dude. Hell yeah. All about it, dude. I love that we have that kind of community where we can be in the area. Like, dude, let's get together. Obviously, it's what you call friendship, you know? Ninja said, if Amazon told other warehouse employees, hey, we can't pay you right now. We might get back to you in a month or two. Oh, yeah, they would get destroyed by the government, yeah. But then again, they're not the government. Nice, Kyle, do it. Get your jet over there, man. Blade says, the map shows where the guys from chatter. So Blade, the maps, all the blips on the map are people that have subbed at one point. So yes, everybody in chat with the sub emotes next to the names, they're on there if they've told me where they live. Everybody has the option to. Not everybody has. But yeah, everybody that's talking in chat right now, actually, their dots are on the map. But I'm not going to know exactly where that is, but you have an idea, you know? So yeah, everybody that subs for the first time or any time in the future, if they don't tell me right away, has the option, as the sub perks down below, to whisper me as much information as they'd like to about where they are in this world, and I will add them to the map. Just another thing that I can do to make, you know, you spending your time and or money here more special. That's all I want to do. I want to teach. I want to give back to you guys as much as possible. And eventually, hopefully, do this full time. Because it's, I make my living that way. I would love to do that. That's a long ways off, but I'd love to do it. Kyle says, BRB going across the world to do it. Yeah, Kyle sees his dot. Boom. There it is. Red can see his dot, I'm sure. Milko said, I honestly can't tell if I'm on there. Yeah, you told me, Milko, you're on there. There's a lot of people in that area. Eperman! Welcome in, dude. Oh my god, my friend Eva's coming over too. Get those fats beards up in chat, everybody. Welcome those raiders in. They're here to learn with us. In just a moment. As soon as we get started learning. Right now we're learning about each other. Bijou Bat, hey, long time no see. It's been a pleasure getting to know you on the Twitters. Good to see you. White Velcro, long time no see, friend. Good to see you. Always a pleasure talking to you on Discord. Eva, good to see you in your channel and on Discord as well. Mother flippin' Eva reconnecting to the neural net. For 9 months. She's coming up on that 1 year mark too. That orange beard is within her grasp. Appreciate you so much, Eva. We got the shout out for Eva yet? I'm sure it's on the way. Indeed, those of you who are subbed for 9 months, feel free to whisper me the name of your Twitch babby if you want to. I'll put it in the Discord. And it's only been done once involuntarily by our boy Kavasmara. I put it in there just because I thought it would be fun. Anybody else who would like to either put it in Discord yourself if you're in there, or whisper me. I'll put it in there for you. I'd love to hear what your name for our Twitch babby is. And if not, that's fine too. Just for funsies. You guys go check out Eva. She is an activist. She's an academic. She is passionate about her community and what she does. Go learn from her. She's all about that intersectional feminism and teaching all about that. Please go learn from her if that sounds at all interesting to you. Of course, Eva, you're always welcome here. Glad to see you. I think next month is your guys', Kyle? I think so. I think you guys are already at 9 months. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Couldn't say. Froshin, welcome in. Good to see you, man. How the heck are you, dude? Great to see you. Speaking of this, let's get started on this. Been catching up with everybody, talking with everybody. Everybody that just came in, by the way, there's a very important question in chat, guys. Very important question. Here it is. While we're getting started to talk about the amygdala, feel free to listen to my sensual voice and get your learn on. While you consider this question of the day, the world is under attack. You can bring one famous, real, historical person and one piece of technology to fight with. Who and what do you bring? What do you do? Interpret the piece of technology however you wish to. I meant to write like one piece of current technology, but you decide what you want. You decide what to do with that. I would love to hear how you defend the Earth against these aliens, or if you defend the Earth, what do you do? Who are you bringing? What are you bringing? Or what do you do? Tell me all about that. Cal said, well, March is 1 year since you followed, so it sounds about right. True. Oh, I thought you were talking about 9 months. Sorry. Yeah, you guys are totally almost to the year mark. It's true. And just, oh, amygdala, have mercy on the poor bastard. Indeed. Those of you guys who don't get that reference, that is from Bloodborne. There's a enemy on there called amygdala, or some people say amygdala. Some people say cosm. Yeah. I always pronounce it amygdala because that's how I know the word, because it's part of the brain. You know. Oh, you were Kyle. Okay. Yeah, you must be there. You must either be there now or have passed it. I would think so. Feel free to throw it in there. Yeah, good boy. But the amygdala, guys. We're going to talk about this tonight. But first, Note Electa would bring a high-powered supercomputer. Nice. I would hope it's compact so you can bring it along. Is some tactician, not really sure super specifically which one. Red Tacular had the same thought. He thought to bring Sun Tzu, whom I think would be a bit anachronistic. I think he might have a hard time adjusting to the new tools available to him for strategery. But I don't know. He's a smart cookie. Maybe he'd figure it out. I don't know. 9 month sub should be any day now. I'm assuming it's already there, Ninja. Just saying. Assuming you're already there. I think you guys just resubbed last week. What did it say? I don't know. Yeah, just a General Patton might be a good choice. It's true. Dude was dope. He was good at the military strategery, I guess. Taxi said Genghis Khan could have fun with a Gatling gun. He certainly would. I think he would. Yeah. All right. So I chose Teddy Roosevelt because the dude was a savage. And the most virulently engineered virus that the CDC has cooked up to toss into a large group of those aliens and get them all nice and sick so they go spread it around to all of them and they all eventually die, hopefully. And they leave us alone. This is assuming the aliens couldn't be reasoned with. I mean, Teddy and I would try that first. Teddy being a strong speaker, you know? I think he could reason with them if they were to be reasoned with at all. If not, it's time for boxing matches and viruses. Note Electa said, I feel like you'd want one not historically known for creating the tactics of their time, but learning and adapting to one of the predecessors. Ooh, good point. In combination with the supercomputer, you could basically just run through massive numbers of scenarios. That's a good way to think about that, Note Electa. I love that. Yeah. Given time and the power grid strength to do so, yes, you can absolutely do that. I love that idea. Just said, go away or face annihilation, Teddy. It sounds like something he might say, honestly. He would talk softly and carry a big machine gun, I would guess, at this point. I think sticks are a little bit antiquated at this point. You know. Anyways, guys, let's jump into this. Again, as always, feel free to slow me down. Ask me any questions if you missed something or I wasn't clear or you just are wondering something. I'm trying to make a connection here about this information. Never be afraid to or feel like you're putting me out or the rest of chat out by asking questions or anything like that. It's always your right to do so, and not only your right, but your prerogative to do so, okay? Those things might be synonymous. I haven't thought about that before now. But just bottom line is never feel like you can't ask me for more information about this kind of thing. Ask me to re-explain something. I'm always happy to do so. And even if I'm not happy to do so, even if for some reason on whatever planet I wasn't happy to do so, still your business to ask. You should always absolutely ask for the information that you need whenever you need it, and do not feel like you're putting somebody else out by doing so. You have every right to do so, and you should. Okay? There you go, Red Ninja. Dope. Which part of the amygdala shoots lasers? None. Unfortunately, none. And no arms on this one either, actually. No arms. And doesn't look like a tonsil. Not at all. Not at all. 41 seconds to the next quest. So yeah, feel free to slow me down, stop me anytime, ask me them questions. Without further ado, here's the amygdala. We're going to talk all about it. Shorter number of slides tonight, but more dense information here. As I was explaining earlier, a bit different too. It's going to be less process-based and more, here's some research, here's some things that are agreed upon, here's some things that are up in the air still. What do you guys think about it? All that business, okay? So the amygdala, typically thought of as an almond-sized / shaped portion of the brain. I should have put that in quotes because it's not actually technically true. That is outdated. The amygdala, when they first researched it and found it, they found that the amygdala was almond-shaped, sure. But as they continued to research it, they found like, oh crap, these other areas around it are also kind of responsible for the same thing. It's no longer almond-shaped or sized. It's actually a bit bigger and rounder and not really at all resembling an almond anymore. But, you know, the name still sticks and they call the whole structure the amygdala still, even though there's really no resemblance to an almond anymore. And that's just how we do. So, know that. It's considered, well, not considered, it is part of the limbic system, along with parts of the brain we haven't really talked about much yet, the hippocampus, where all the hippopotamuses go to learn all the things they learn. Also the part of our brain where where it has a lot to do with storage and retrieval of memories. We talked about patient HM before, who somehow, I forget how it was actually, surgery or accident or whatever, had damage to pretty much just his hippocampus, hippocampi, both sides, in his brain at one point, and from then on was living in a constant state of just novelty. Was unable to form new memories, could recall things up to a certain point, because after memories are stored by the hippocampus, they move out to the cortex to be stored. So what he had was intact, but he could not form new ones. That's where it's at. You know, he just wasn't able to do that anymore. So the hippocampus and amygdala definitely work very closely together. We've mentioned that before. Yeah, amygdala, hippocampus, the hypothalamus we haven't talked about much. It's very heavily involved in the endocrine system. A lot of our androgens released there, vasopressin and oxytocin, other neurotransmitters we haven't talked about yet, taken care of by the hypothalamus, very strongly associated with and responsible for our fight or flight response. The piriform cortex, which we talked about if you were around for our talk about the olfactory system, right? The piriform cortex is where the olfactory bulb and thus the olfactory nerve connect into as far as cortex goes. That's where we kind of encode all the different smells that we pick up with our nose, right? I gotta stop saying that so much. I'm gonna work on that. Nucleus accumbens, we talked about in our talk about dopamine. That is the part of the brain that is responsible for letting us know, like, wow, that thing was awesome. You should definitely do that thing again. That thing is rewarding to us. We definitely want to do that thing in the future. Or also, you know, that thing wasn't so cool. Let's not do that. Let's not do that anymore. Let's stay away from that thing. Or like, hey, that thing that used to be really cool, that thing you used to love, that food you used to enjoy, that person you used to really like, that activity you loved, that's not really that cool anymore. It's not as rewarding. Maybe let's change that. Let's back off. Okay? Nucleus accumbens releases a lot of dopamine, letting us know when there's really strong, rewarding associations with things, and releases less or none when there isn't a really strong reward associated with something. But those are all parts of the limbic system. The amygdala is strongly interconnected with all those and other areas. We're going to talk about that more as we go through. Rez says, oxytose, son. Got him. Indeed. Hippo learning? You got my full attention. Absolutely. This is where we're at. But first, I see you guys took out Siamese, the guinea, which means little fat boy gets to treat. You guys get some kitty cam. Thank you guys for donating again to Fat Boy's Fat Belly Fund, dedicated to keeping him the fattest kitty on Twitch. He appreciates it. I appreciate it. Y'all love it. It is a win-win-win, as we're wont to say around here. Ooh, I'm just noticing that my captions are covering up the thing here. What's that called? The attribution. Or this little picture right here. I want to make sure that gets shown. The proper artists are attributed here. It's important. And what that's showing is, here's the amygdala. We're going to talk about that in a second. The amygdala is located deep, or very far into, and in the middle, the medial portions of the temporal lobes. The temporal lobes being that oblong part that goes along behind your ears, right on the side. If you're looking at a lateral view of the brain, that oblong part along the side, that's the temporal lobe. The amygdala is located deep and medially inside the temporal lobe. If we're looking at the front, a brain from the front right here, this is where the amygdala would be located. If we're looking at the bottom of a brain, this is about where the amygdala would be located. I've also heard it described as if you draw a line in from your ears, like straight into your ears, and then straight in from your eyes, where those intersect, that's about where your amygdala is. Don't know how accurate that is, but it's a good rule of thumb. You know, it's around about there on the bottom of your brain. You know, that's it. My boy Washington Irving. Yep. Good old captioner. Got my back. You burrow one fast? Or for cover up? That boy getting his burrow on. A cuddle kitty. So, the amygdala is often responsible for emotional responses to sensory stimuli. Makes us feel ways about things that we experience, especially negative emotions. We talked about this before when I talked with you guys about the negativity bias. Those of you guys who have seen the YouTube video or just heard me talk about it here on stream, negativity bias has a lot to do with the amygdala, and we're definitely predisposed to seeing negative things in the environment and experiencing negative things in the environment much more strongly than positive things. And for survival reasons, it's important. It's not like our brain wants us to go through pain all the time. It's more that helps keep us alive. Way more important to realize like something that's dangerous and look out for that kind of thing in the future than it is to remember a fun time you had one time. You know, one of those things helps keep you alive till you can have kids. It's the fear. It's the negative emotions. You know. That boy's all tucked in. There he is. Puts himself to bed. Very good. Oh, he's back. Good boy. It's a good boy. What a good, adorable boy. Oh, he's ready. Oh, Washington Irving is the dude who drew this. Oh, yeah, I see. Got you. From Washington Irving. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Ninja. So yeah, the amygdala helps us assign emotional content to different sensory stimuli, different memories, things like that. Especially negative things, and all like super especially fear. Fear response is like highly associated with the amygdala. It also helps us with decision making. Without, a good strong connection to our emotions, it's very hard for us to make certain decisions. And also it helps us encode emotions for episodic memories, right? Episodic memories, for those of you guys who don't know, are basically, if you think of that word episode, it's like an episode in your life, something that happened to you, right? So a memory from your childhood, a fight you had with a friend, or a good time you had with a lover, or, great time in high school, or playing your favorite game, or anything like that, Those are all episodic memories. It's things that happened to you, events in your life, right? Those are, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, there's those, and then there's also semantic memories, which is basically vocabulary, memories for what things are, what we call certain things, recognizing objects, things like that. And also procedural memory, which is better known, or maybe not better known, but more colloquially known as muscle memory, right? The memory for how to do things, right? Those are the other kinds of memory. But the hippocampus and amygdala work together to assign that emotional content to episodic memories. We talked about this before, but brain areas of the brain that are located close to one another, those tend to have a very similar function, or they highly influence the function of one another, right? So the amygdala and the hippocampus are like right next to each other, and it just so happens that the amygdala and the hippocampus share a lot in common as far as function goes. The amygdala assigns a lot of emotional content to the memories that the hippocampus helps make permanent within our brains. So they are highly associated in their tasks, and thus they are right next to each other in the brain. Case in point, right? I mentioned this before, but you see that all over the brain. Things that are located right next to one another tends to have similar functions, or work together on a similar function, highly influence those functions. Peace out, Tax2. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Have fun at work tomorrow? I hope you do. Thank you for that farewell, Ninja. Appreciate that. Oh, Kyle, too. Hell yeah. Thank you guys for giving that farewell to Tax2, helping make this one of the friendliest places here on Twitch. I love it. My dream one day, guys, and we're going to get there, I know this. My dream one day, guys, is to, when somebody comes in or somebody leaves, there's just like a wall of texts of like, dude, what's up? Or hey, bye, or see ya, we'll see you later. Like, I would love to see that, I'm sure it's happened to you in somebody's chat before. I would love to see that happen here, and I appreciate you guys doing what you can to make that happen. Can't wait for that to be the case, It's gonna happen as we grow. I'm not worried about it. And oh, I mentioned that the amygdala activates our fight or flight response. It does. It connects strongly to the brainstem, or parts of the amygdala connect very strongly to the brainstem, and that sets in motion the cascade of different neurotransmitters and hormones and things like that that set off the autonomic nervous system and kick us into fight or flight mode. We'll talk about that a bit more as we go along. So this is basically the amygdala in a nutshell, and kind of where it's located. I'm going to show you a better picture of where it's located right now. So here is another brain. These are what we would call coronal sections of a brain, where they take a slice right out of the middle and then you look at it from the front, right? So we see two of those here. There's a slice here, taken and we're looking at it. There's a slice here, we're taking and looking at it. The amygdala is like right between these two slices, unfortunately, so we're not actually seeing a cross section that includes the amygdala, but it's right in between those things. So you can kind of see where it is still. It's not the best picture, but it's the best one I could find and use. So the amygdala is actually going to be located right about here, and right about here in the brain if you're looking at it from the front in a cross section. Same thing, right about here and right about here. This is the temporal lobe here. All this is the temporal lobe here. And then the medial deep portion of the temporal lobe right there. Same thing here. This is all temporal lobe here. This longitudinal part of the brain right here, temporal lobe. This is the temporal lobe looking at it from the front. And then deep medial portion right there. That's amygdala. That's amygdala all the way. So again, located in the medial ventral parietal lobe. So middle and ventral or bottom part of the brain right there. And amygdala, I think I mentioned this already, means almond or tonsil, which is why you kind of see both of those things in Bloodborne. They both come up. They get there's the boss named amygdala or amygdala, however you want to pronounce it. I think it's amygdala. And there's the item you find called the tonsil stone that looks like amygdala's head. But anyways, as far as our brain is concerned, we talked about how these are a misnomer and why that is already. Already mentioned that. It was just misnamed when they found it, and the name stuck. So this area of the brain, the amygdala, extremely, extremely fast acting. Extra points in chat if you can guess why. Why would this part of the brain need to be, or why is it extremely fast acting? Why is that? Why does it communicate with us and cause changes within us really quickly? Why? Anybody know? I'll tell you in a second if nobody guesses. But I'm gonna explain this first. So this area of the brain is extremely fast acting. For instance, studies have shown that we can judge expressions on a person's face and judge those to be dangerous within fractions of a second. It's even faster and more likely to be judged as dangerous, even if they're neutral faces, if it's somebody of a different race. Yeah. So, you know, white people looking at faces of other races. It's a kind of an in-group, out-group thing. White people are more likely to say that, hey, that person looks like they have an angry expression on their face, even if they really don't, even if it's a more neutral face. And that's the amygdala kicking in for sure. Indeed, Red, it is. Go comfy fat boy. He's like just laying by the blankets now. He's not even laying under them. I don't have a treat for you, little fatty fat fat. It's petting you. So yeah, and that happens, like I said, that happens across races too. It's not just white people doing it, but other races looking at other races, you know, out-group races. They tend to judge people right away as being, there's kind of a bias towards them being dangerous just because they don't belong to that one race, you know? And that's the amygdala doing its job, looking out for things that might be potentially dangerous, even if we really have been given no reason for them to be, you know? And the reason why it works so quickly, if something is in fact dangerous, you know, the amygdala is kind of always hyper aware of what's going on, always letting you know about things that may or may not be dangerous in your environment. We'll talk about how that kind of goes awry a little bit later. There's very common disorders that go along with that. But if this is going on, I mean, if there is potentially something dangerous in your environment, your amygdala wants to find it, and you need to know about that as soon as possible, you know? The sooner you know about that potentially dangerous thing, even if it really isn't dangerous and you just want to be cautious, the sooner you know about that, the more likely you are to survive, right? So if your amygdala thinks it sees something dangerous in your environment, you're at least going to look at it and assess it and see if it is or not. You know, you're going to feel that initial hit of like, what? You're going to check it out, right? And make a judgment based on that, hopefully. Or maybe you'll just turn tail and run. For instance, I mean, we don't even need to like experience something directly as being as scary. We can just be told about it too. For instance, you know, back in hunter-gatherer times, if an elder of the village said, hey, you know, don't go out into tall grass, there's freaking tigers out there, and described what a tiger was and, you know, the gruesome mauling that they had seen one time, you're going to be a little wary of movement in the grass if you ever go out that way. You don't even have to have seen a tiger before. You just got to know that those are out there, and you should be wary of them, right? So any movement in the grass might cause you to look and be fearful, might cause you to run away. Anything like that. Rectangular says tigers in Denmark. Lol. All right. Chocolate chip pancakes. Thank you for bringing over a couple of your friends, man. My name is Ina Beta. We're here talking about the amygdala right now. We talk about neuroscience topics most nights here in chat. And we also enjoy some variety gaming. We're talking all about the amygdala right now. And then we're going to play some My Time at Porsche later. Any of that sounds like your jam? We'd love to see you around more. Feel free to hit that follow button and come on back sometime. Pancakes, how you doing, my friend? How are things for you? How was your stream? Tell us all about it. Thanks for that stack attack, dude. Love it. I had a stack of banana pancakes yesterday, and they were freaking delicious. One moment. Ooh. That big old cough and sneeze. Whew. Geez, still a little sick. Sorry, guys. Pancake said, my stream was good, but it died out towards the end because he died like 25 times on the same challenge. Yeah, people often get a little impatient with that, but you know what? They just have to deal. Just get good, says Red. That's always the answer, isn't it? It's always the answer. I'm glad you're here, Choco Chip Pancakes. Good to see you, man. There's a very, very important question of the day that anybody who hasn't answered, feel free to !Q to check out what it is. Only way to get good is keep going, though. It's true, Pancakes. He speaks the truth, Red. Like how Red died to Yorm. Exactly. He got good afterwards. So, within the amygdala, there are 4 major subdivisions. This shows more than 4, of course. I don't know about most of these. This is the only picture that mentioned the ones besides what I'm going to talk about, and this, of course, is the hippocampus. We talked about that already. The place where the hippopotami go to learn and get smart. Nina, oh my god! Hell yeah, friend. What's up, Nina? It's good to see you, friend. How the heck are you? Please, Nina, tell me what's good, what's new. We miss you, as always. Glad to have you. How the heck are you, Nina? 25 deaths, 7,000 in Celeste right here. I have not played Celeste. I don't intend to. It would be a death fest. I love watching other people play it, though, however. How the heck are you, Nina? Well, Fat Boy's waiting for you. How are you, my friend? So good to see you. If you guys haven't seen yet the TaskBot playthrough, why is there no music? What the hell is this? If you guys haven't seen the TaskBot playthrough Celeste yet, I would absolutely recommend that. You should absolutely be watching that. It's freaking amazing. Super crazy. Missed you as well, Nina. We're doing well, Nina. I'm just getting over being sick. It's still got right hold of me a little bit, but we're almost there. Almost done. Rash's guy said, "Guys, spent months learning this stuff back in college, but since you went to the finance world, you forgot all this stuff." I mean, yeah, you just don't learn it. You just don't use it as much, right? I get you, man. I get you. When did you learn this kind of thing? What were you intending to do with it at first? I didn't know this about you, Froshin. I like this. The relationship just deepened. I love it. I love it. Back in college, just cause you didn't have a specific like course of study you were trying to follow yet, just happened to be a class you took. Oops, didn't get that mute. That's okay though. Yeah, how the heck are things going for you, Nina? I hope they're well. Hope they're going well. Kyle, jeez. Froshin said, I graduated and we're becoming a physical therapist. Got it. Nice. Okay. He decided to go into finance instead. Okay. Cool. I would imagine you learn a little bit of this stuff in PT, especially stuff about like the motor cortices and all that stuff, I would guess. Froshin somehow got recruited by a bank and haven't looked back. That's a career path I'm considering as well whenever my wife and I move up to Washington. There's a small little credit union up there, and our aunt that lives up there says, you know, you might check that place out because everybody I know that works there freaking loves it and they never complain. Like, that sounds amazing. And working at banks are usually pretty steady and good paying jobs. So might consider that too. Neuro4A, what's up? We're going to talk about the ventral amygdalofugal pathway. Ooh, I don't know. I actually haven't heard of that. That's beyond my scope at this point. I'd love to hear you explain a little bit about that. And welcome on in, Neuro4A. We get a shout out for Nero, please. He was playing some Subnautica the other day. I had the pleasure to stop in and see him check that out for a little bit. And Neuro4A is a legit neuroscientist, which is pretty dope that he's here. We can benefit from his knowledge as well. Jumping ahead of the lectures? Oh, no worries, man. I appreciate that. Please add. As I always tell people, add any knowledge you have, ask any questions you want. This is a discussion, not a lecture. I debated the banker. Maybe one day. I don't know. Just saying. And quest time. Nina's in the middle of moving to Guadalajara. Interesting. Is that what am I reading that right, Nina? GDL's Guadalajara? I didn't know you were moving. That's awesome. I hope it's a good move for you, Nina. There's that warm welcome from him. I appreciate that. There's a shout out. He's playing some Borderlands 2 also. I didn't see that. I saw the Subnautica though. There was definitely no jump scares, guys. No jump scares at all. He never jump scared once. I see you guys took out Fur Ninja Shinji Neko, which means this little fat boy gets a treat. Y'all get some kitty cam. Thank you guys for donating again. The fat boy's Fat Belly Fun, dedicated to keeping him the fattest kitty on Twitch. He appreciates it. I appreciate it. Y'all love it. It's a win-win-win. Yeah, exactly, Nero. Yeah. He never screamed. I did not see it. I didn't see it happen. Just like I never did, guys. There's literally no clips of me being jump scared ever in Subnautica. That never happened. No, Red, he speaks the truth just like I do. It never happened to me either. Nina's moving to Great Dude Land. And she'll find some great dudes. You going to hunt for jobs? Cool, Nina. That's good. I'm glad, because it sounds like you weren't super satisfied with the job you've had for a while now, right? Hope that your move benefits you financially and internetly, so you can, have a more stable internet connection and do the things you want to do, We'd love to see more of you. I'm sure you'd love to be able to be in other places more often too. So I hope that all benefits you and your family, Nina. Hope so. Yes, indeed, Nina. Good luck, my friend. Please keep us posted. Like, let us know what's going on with you. I really want to hear how that's going for you. I hope things go the best for you. Hopefully it'll get better. I hope so. See Noctis in the background? Indeed you do, Frushin. Frushin is the wonderful, generous, kind fellow who presented me with this awesome picture at TwitchCon. Oh, it's Noctis. I thought it was freaking... I thought, and I think other people thought that it was Kirito from Sword Art Online, but it's totally Noctis. Oh my god. Anxiety! Oh my god! Anxiety bringing over 34 of her freaking friends. Guys, get those fats beards in chat to welcome those raiders in, please. Show them this is one of the most positive learning environments on Twitch. Please, guys. Brain Dead Kyle doing it. Absolutely, Frushin, this year. I hope to see you again there myself. Absolutely. Nina with his warm welcomes. Appreciate that, guys. Raiders, welcome in. My name is Ina Beta. We talk about neuroscience and psychology and other science-related topics here on the channel. Tonight we're talking all about the amygdala and what that does for us. Spoilers, it's emotions. Has a lot to do with that. After this, we're going to check out some... after these science portions, we always play some variety games. Tonight we're going to check out some My Time at Porsche. Brand new game that came out, a brand new spanking game that came out fully released recently. Any of that sounds like your jam, you know what to do. You might have seen me over in Anxiety's channel sometime. I spend a fair bit of time there as well. And this is a little fat boy. He hangs out on the chair. He eats treats. And he sends out positive vibes, and he looks adorable. He joins us on stream every night too. Any of that sounds like your jam, we'd love to see you around again. Neuropilot, good to see you. Welcome on in. Neurofourier's name is EEG related. Oh, I didn't know that actually. Did your PhD in computational neuroscience? Oh my god, freaking loved it. Oh my god. I wish that kind of thing like was I had known that there was like a possibility as a degree way back in my college days, my early college days. I would have eaten that up. Absolutely. Signal analysis is a bifurcation. Oh my god, that sounds amazing. That sounds so dope. I would have loved to have gotten deeper into behavioral neuroscience myself. That's my love and my jam. But I would have studied any branch of neuroscience at the graduate or PhD level. Absolutely. Absolutely. And everybody in chat, there's our question of the day. The world is under attack. You can bring one famous, real historical figure and one piece of technology to fight. Who and what do you bring and what do you do? Teddy Roosevelt has been a popular person this evening. Just gonna say. He's a pretty badass, real historical figure. But it doesn't have to be an American president. Hey! Ninja says, ravioli, ravioli. Give me the kitty wheelie-oli. Thank you for that tip, my friend. I appreciate it. Ninja tipped 100 biddies, or the equivalent of $1, which means we're going to spin this kitty wheel and see what little fat boy or I gets. Sometimes Fats get something, sometimes I get something. Let's see what it's going to be. It is a belly rub. Little fat boy gets an extra belly rub. He's going to think it's a treat, but it's a belly rub. Here it is. Yo, fat boy. Give me that belly. Give me that belly. Nope, I have no treats for you. I'm just helping myself to some fat belly. You disturb? Basically. Yep, no treats. Just belly rubs, fats. Yep, no treats. Nope. It's always so disappointed. Disappointed. He'll get over it, though, I promise. Anyways, guys, let's get back to the amygdala. Like I said, there's 4 major subdivisions of the amygdala that I found in my research on it. There's other pieces listed in this graphic, which is the best graphic that I could find that was at my disposal. Most of them were rat amygdalae, and I didn't want to display rat amygdalae because they aren't laid out quite the same, and I'm trying to talk about humans, not rats as much. Though I gotta say, much, if not most, if not the vast majority of the research done on amygdalae is done on rats, because human amygdalae are just really hard to get to with current technology, and easily damaged, and we try, our best not to do that with humans. So we can't do a lot of very direct research on human amygdalae just because we can't get to them without damaging them. So a lot's done on rats. A lot of it is, but I try to stick to humans as much as possible. You found it, Kyle? Fats is indeed the best, Eva. I agree. Fats is the best, fattest little lab assistant on Twitch. I appreciate him so much, I'm gonna cover him up. Good boy. So, the first major subdivision of the amygdala, the basolateral nuclei, right? This connects really strongly with the PFC, or the prefrontal cortex, especially what's called the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which if you put your finger like right between your eyes right here, you're kind of pointing right at it. It's the ventral, or the bottom part of the and medial part of the prefrontal cortex, right there, right behind your eyes. Also sometimes called the orbitofrontal cortex, because it's right behind the orbits of your skull, right there. So the basolateral nucleus, the biggest subdivision in the amygdala, connects very strongly to the orbitofrontal, or the ventromedial PFC. That's really important. We talked earlier about how the amygdala makes some snap judgments, responds very quickly to stimuli, especially that fearful stimuli, especially faces of other races and things like that can make us very hypersensitive to those kind of things. But this circuit between the ventromedial PFC and presumably other areas of the prefrontal cortex and the basolateral nuclei can be used to kind of shut down that immediate response and help us to kind of think through our responses to stimuli instead. This is, I mean, you've experienced this before when you've suddenly been startled by something or looked at something like, oh, what? And like felt that fear response go off, and then like, wait, no, that's something else. This is silly. Why am I scared about this? That's you thinking through it. That's your prefrontal cortex activating and connecting with this part, or activating a connection to this part of the amygdala and shutting down that overall response. This is part of it. There's another part that we're going to talk about in a minute that's more responsible for that as well. But again, the main thing I'm trying to get across, prefrontal cortex, specifically the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, very, very strongly connected to the amygdala, right? And that's how we can kind of talk our way through a lot of our emotions a lot of times. Let me catch up on chat here. Ooh, wow, so much stuff I don't even know about. Oh, so much more to learn. And Pancakes is a qualifying question. With the Earth under attack, do you have to fight to win or survive? It's up to you. Don't know. You could even befriend the aliens. You could turn on humanity. I left it open and on purpose, dog. Neuropilot says that there's a section of the orbital that exposes some EEG signals from the amygdala. Ooh, even better. There we go. See? That strong connection, right? And very, very strongly connected. We're going to talk about that more. There's a more popular phenomenon going right now that has a lot to do with this prefrontal cortex amygdala connection. We'll talk about that near the end of the lecture. Nah, it's not a lecture. Near the end of the discussion. So this part of the amygdala also responds selectively to faces. Bonus points if you can guess what part of the brain we've talked about many times here before that's probably got a connection to. I'll tell you in a second if people don't guess. That's okay. It also works with the nucleus accumbens to mediate a fear response and to condition stimulus and drive that reward salience. Remember, it's going to help us figure out what in the environment is rewarding to us, help drive us to get those, to help get those things, or tell us what's not rewarding to us and what the hell we should stay away from. The nucleus accumbens help solidify those interactions. And since this area responds selectively to faces, or more strongly to faces, this area is probably strongly connected with an area called the fusiform gyrus. We talked about this before. That's an area of the ventral temporal lobe, specifically designed to, or not designed to, but specifically sensitive to seeing faces in the environment. I put that on Twitter, and I know we've talked about that here too. What a good question? Hell yeah. I'm trying to put more of those in here. I want to ask questions for those who can answer them, and I also want to make sure to go back and cover basics as well, because, you know, I want everybody to understand this stuff. I don't want to just talk about it and just be done with it. I want people to understand it as well. That's why we're going to start having review sessions every week too. That's interesting. Wow. So many... Neuroscience, guys, is just such like a quickly developing and quickly evolving field that, like, it's, oh my god, there's just like such a vast array of areas of neuroscience now compared to like even 10 years ago. And once I... Ooh, monster sneeze. Ooh, sorry. And gosh, research is just going so quickly that it's hard for even textbooks to like keep up with like what is cutting edge in neuroscience, what's current in neuroscience, you know? It's really crazy, really crazy. Kyle didn't know we were going to be tested. It's okay. The questions are there for people that want to and can answer them, and if not, that's okay. No worries, just to get you to think about it. Right, Neurophoria? Oh my god, it's diversified so much. I love it. Oh my god. Just looking at the local neuroscience PhD program at Berkeley, there's like so many different like subdivisions of neuroscience. I was like, oh my god, that looks delicious. I'd love to be in that program. I don't think I will. One, because I don't think I would make it in, and two, because we're moving soon. So I don't know. If we don't move this year, I might strongly consider applying to it. I mean, what the worst they're going to say is no. So biophysics, cognitive sciences, computational sciences. Yeah, exactly. So many. Oh my god. So many delicious subdivisions of it. I love it. Love it. What I can't wait to see is the marrying of, or like the more, the less competitive and the more cooperative look at the brain and the person as a whole, you know? So like behaviorists and neuroscientists and psychologists and social psychologists, all of them coming together and working together on a more, on more unified theories of behavior and the way people in general work. All of them coming together and looking at the whole picture, because everybody's looking at one piece in a specific way. They all interconnect. They have to. We got to find those connections, but I just feel like those branches of science don't want to talk to each other very much. That was my experience when I was in college. There's a strong behavior analysis department, and there's a lot of people interested in neuroscience. There was no neuroscience department, unfortunately, for me. But they didn't want to talk to each other. The behaviorists just didn't want to hear anything about that because it's just not observable. But like, dude, there's clearly a connection. Like, you guys are looking at the tip of the iceberg. Like, you're not considering the whole thing. It should be. Apply, or at least minimum see if I can audit the course. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that. I should try, if we end up staying here, I should definitely try something like that. And if we move, maybe I'll look at something up there. I don't know. I'm not that old. It's not impossible for me to go back, but I don't know. Neuropilot says, the skill to make your own AI to analyze journal articles, keep up with the neuroscience research. That'd be dope. That'd be really cool. I'd love to see that kind of thing. Just something that can synthesize and summarize those things really quickly, because there's so much to read. It's hard for anybody to keep up, Which is unfortunate, because that means the people doing that cutting edge research can't probably can't stop and assimilate all that knowledge to help guide their own research, you know? There could be very well be 2 or 3 different teams of people working on the same thing, and they don't have to be. They could be working together on it, but they may not know that they are. Yeah, I don't know. That's a whole slippery slope kind of thing, in my opinion. Anyways, basolateral is the basolateral subdivision, largest part of the amygdala, very heavily connected to the prefrontal cortex. The central nuclei, located up here, more central to the brain, not so much central to the amygdala, but more central to the brain. That connects really strongly to the hypothalamus and brainstem. That's going to be more for releasing those what are called glucocorticoids. We haven't talked about those yet. Otherwise known, I believe, as cortisol. I believe those 2 things are synonymous. Correct me if I'm wrong. But those that will cause those. It's a stress hormone. So when you're stressed out, when you're in fight or flight response, when you are living in poverty, when you are living in areas of violence, when you're frequently exposed to violence and things like that, higher levels of cortisol in your brain at all times, constantly in that fight or flight mode. Not good for cardiovascular system, not good for cognitive development, not good for a lot of reasons. But, you know, in small amounts, this is used to get you through really stressful things like, you know, being attacked by a wild animal, being attacked by another human that has malintent, things like that. This is a useful part of our physiology that unfortunately is overactive in too many people, based on things that they may not necessarily be able to control. With the hypothalamus and brainstem, as we're going to release that stress hormone and set off the autonomic nervous system, cause us to go into fight or flight mode or survival, you know? And connections from the central nuclei make that possible, or make that stronger for us. Pancake says, in answer to the question of the day, he would take Niccolo Machiavelli. Oh, I'm not sure if I know who that is. Is that like the Machiavelli, like the artist dude or scientist? In auto translator, currently experimental, an attempt to make peace or negotiate with the attackers for a best case scenario. Oh, I love that idea. Nobody has said their scenario would include trying to make peace with the aliens yet. I love that. It's awesome. It just says your first mistake was not taking Teddy. Second mistake was not taking a big stick. I mean, I'm just saying Teddy Roosevelt will probably be a hell of a translator, or a hell of a negotiator, as well as a fighter, you know? He negotiate, he attack, he protect, he do all the things. I'm just saying. iStealth 89, welcome on in. I love those Nerf guns, those are dope. How the heck are you, iStealth? Good to see you, friend. What's good? What's new with you? We're just talking about the amygdala, doing our thing. As always, feel free to ask any questions, share any information, and feel free to do !Q to answer the question of the day. We were just talking about it. Nerfing around? Dope. I'm down for it. I'm down with that, Pancakes. I love that approach, man. Alright, back to the amygdala. The medial nuclei. This connects really extensively with, first of all, the piriform cortex, so that's that cortex that has to do with our sense of smell. And also receives sensory input from a lot of our other, all of our other senses as well. This is how our sensory stimuli from our body is going to connect to the amygdala to have emotional information attached to it. And also, it's going to help us it also helps us react to pheromones. We haven't talked about this too much before. This isn't as big of a function for us anymore. It's more of an animal, or more functional in animals and stuff like that. But humans still respond to pheromones. Actually, in one study, they found that if they took 2 different types of sweat from people. They got like sweat pads underneath people's arms from when they were skydiving, where people were sweating out of fear. They were in tandem skydiving as well. So it wasn't due to physical exertion, because the instructor was doing all the work, so it wasn't due to exertion. They were skydiving. Any sweat that they had was due to being amped up from falling at terminal velocity and all that. And they also took sweat from people that went for a nice run, you know? They had people take a sniff of one of the sweat pads, not knowing which was which, just not knowing what it was, just knowing that it was sweat, and then report on a scale of how they felt. People that smelled the sweat pads from skydiving, the people that were scared when they were sweating, The people that smelled that sweat pad reported more feelings of feeling scared themselves, you know, not having known anything about that, not being in any sort of scary situation themselves, just smelling that another person was scared predisposed them to being scared themselves, you know? And that's pheromones at work right there. And that's also the amygdala at work right there, you know? Also quest time for whoever's ready. Quest time. Anime male? Got him. Let me catch up. Alright. Neuropia says, my friends have EEG from the helmet. When they landed on a carrier, made some interesting data from the sensory motor cortex. I bet it did, yeah. There's a lot of sensory feedback going from when they're landing and stuff like that. Your body is feeling where it is through those vibrations and stuff like that. So yeah, sure, there's very interesting stuff there. Note Electa a little bit late in the quest, but you still get to enjoy the aftermath. Because I see you guys took out Django Beantoe, which means this little fat guy gets a treat. Y'all get some kitty cam. Thank you guys for donating again to Fat Boy's Fat Belly Fund. Dedicated to keeping his comfy butt so fat every night. He appreciates it. I appreciate it. Y'all love it. It's a win-win-win. Nice and covered. Hey, cuddle boy. Sorry guys, still getting over being sick. I'm got a little cough still. It's almost as if he's activating his fusiform gyrus, right? Kind of is like that. Neuropilot said it's kind of weird. They made very small movements before they actually hit the deck and grabbed the cable, like a cat ready to pounce. Oh yeah, they're setting for that behavior that they've done before, right? Yeah, makes sense. They probably may not have even realized that their body was getting toned up and in position to do that. They've done it so many times. Makes sense. Makes absolute sense. The cough mute, I got it, Red. I got it good, man. That's the medial nuclei. That's going to help us connect our sensory information coming in with emotional information provided here in the amygdala. There's also intercalated nuclei, not shown here. I can only find pictures of that in the rat amygdala, and like I said, I was trying to stay away from that. That's going to be kind of here in between the basolateral and medial and central portions, kind of interspersed throughout here. And those are also projections coming down from the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. And these are more what we call inhibitory pathways. They're important for inhibition of the amygdala, right? They have what are called strong GABAergic projections. Gabapentin being, I think, no, just GABA. Sorry, not gabapentin, something else. GABA being a acronym, I believe, but being the main inhibitory neurotransmitter in the brain. The opposite of it being glutamate, the main excitatory neurotransmitter. We haven't really talked about those yet, but now's the time. But these are very GABAergic projections, or strongly influenced by GABA release. Very strong inhibitory pathways coming from the prefrontal cortex. And what that does is, when the prefrontal cortex deems it worthy, or you deem it worthy rather, these projections will be activated, and it's going to inhibit the emotional response from the amygdala. That's going to basically bring you down from that emotional state, for sure. Take gabapentin for headaches. Okay, yeah. So yeah. Like I said, that was the wrong thing. GABA is the neurotransmitter. Gabapentin is a medication. That's right. It's been a while since I took psychopharmacology. It's been too long. I would love to read up on that more when I have freaking time to do it. And these connections to the amygdala are thought to play a role in extinction of responses. So we talked about responses and like conditioning, things like that. Those behavioral terms, where you learn to associate a stimulus with a behavior, conditioned or unconditioned, I suppose. This pathway would play a role in breaking those links, because eventually, you're not going to keep every association that you ever make. You're going to eventually lose some of those responses if they don't have the same outcome. So you might extinguish some of those things. I know in working with students with autism, very young kids with autism, sorry, we would be trying to extinguish maladaptive behaviors, stimming behaviors and things like that. We try to extinguish those and replace them with something else, things like that. And oh no, I forgot the quote. Hang on one second. I have an awesome quote from the book that I'm reading that goes along with this. that describes it describes very well the thought process behind this that goes on in our brain. Sorry, 1 second. Let me get that. It is right. Oh no, did I not write it down? Maybe I didn't. Here it is. So we can think of it. This also applies to like fearful stimuli. When we learn, when we teach ourselves that, you know, something isn't as scary as it used to be, you know. For instance, like I had a pretty big fear of dogs growing up. I had a lot of bad experiences with them and stuff like that. But nowadays, like, I'm not scared of dogs anymore, but I still don't really like them. But, you know, that was this particular pathway in play. I was able to, you know, show myself over time, you know, having more neutral and sometimes good experiences with dogs. They don't have to be scary. I still prefer not to be around them, but they're not fearful anymore. And this kind of process is summed up in a great sentence, or 2 sentences technically, from a book that I'm reading currently called Behave by Robert Sapolsky. It's amazing, amazing neuroscience text. I would recommend it. It's up in the Discord as well. Highly recommend it. But he says in response to this pathway, we don't passively forget that something is scary, because you don't just forget that. You remember that the rest of your life. But we don't passively forget that something isn't scary. We actively learn that it isn't anymore. I love that quote. I heard that and I was like, that is perfect. That is succinct and beautiful. I love it. So we don't passively forget things that things are scary to us. We actively learn that they are not anymore, right? We have to teach that about ourselves. Or we have to teach that to ourselves, and that goes to interactions with animals, our environment, other people, other types of people, in-group and out-group things, all that business. You're here, Gerbo! Welcome in. You didn't miss it. Glad to see you, Gerbo. How the heck are you? Welcome in. Good to see you, friend. Neuropilot said the whole pretending to be social joke you used came from dealing with a misguided doctor with a student with a kid with autism, 10 years old at the time. As they were leaving the office, the doc prompted her kid to say bye to you. Prompting kids with autism is like that as a peeve of yours. Why is that? That's a good way to teach them, actually. I would say that using the verbal prompt sets them up for failure later, because verbal prompts tend to be the hardest prompts to remove. Makes them very what we call prompt dependent. But definitely prompting your kid to do it is a good thing, good way to teach that skill. Rewarding it is also another essential part of that. We do that kind of stuff all the time working with students with autism. Good to hear more about that, Neuropilot. Why do you feel that way? Also, those subs are up. Boop. Another peeve is apologize. It was the way it was done, not actual prompting. Oh, yeah. Got it. I would say if you're going to do it, make it effective. You know, learn how to do it. Learn what you're doing. But I mean, people don't think it through all the time. They just want the best. I get it. It's going to be hard to generalize that kind of thing later. Gerbo said, another peeve is apologizing for your kid being shy or not speaking. Yeah, you shouldn't apologize for that. Not that, like, it's on your kid to do it, but, like, kids are kids. They're going to do it when they're ready, you know? In front of your kid, like you're embarrassed about them. Yeah. Yeah. People have a way of apologizing for things that are embarrassing to them to kind of make themselves feel better, even though maybe it's not the most functional thing, you know? I would say parents that are doing that aren't apologizing so much on the kid's behalf or because you might feel bad. It's more because they're embarrassed that they kind of signed their kid up to say hi to you and they're not. When, like, you know, you ain't gonna worry about it. Kids are gonna do that sometimes, especially little kids, you know? Like a good, you know, kids that are below like 4 years old, research just shows like about 50% of the time they just don't respond because they're still learning language, still learning pragmatics, they're learning all that stuff still. They heard you, they just didn't respond to your question because I don't know, it's not 100% solid that they need to answer every question posed to them at this point, you know? So you can't always rely on that sort of thing. Neuropilot said, as my doctor's friends, who were actually good with autistic kids, or kids with autism, say. Oh yeah, you told me about this person, yeah. One has 3 students or kids with autism of her own, adopted. She wouldn't have it any other way. She also has 1 neurotypical kid who is shy. Yeah. Shyness can run across both neurotypical and students with autism. It's true. Absolutely. Scriba, hey, welcome back. You finished your assignment? Nice. You're done with school stuff now? Awesome. Really interesting to me talking about GABA. Oh, cool. Glad you enjoy it. It's the first time we talked about GABA here on the stream. It's a neurotransmitter I'll be talking all about in the future at some point. We talked about dopamine so far, and I'll be talking about other ones eventually. It's got to get together, all the talks for the week. It'll be on there eventually. Ninja said it also teaches kids to talk when they have nothing to say for the sake of talking. Maybe. People do that anyways, I don't know. Couldn't say about that, Ninja. You randomly got a lot of schoolwork to do this week? Oh no! I'm sure you'll get it done, dude. You got this. Alright, and so those are the 4 major subdivisions of the amygdala. And all these areas, in case we didn't cover this yet, those are all strongly interconnected to one another. Like all these functions kind of go together, you know? The conglomeration of all these inputs to the amygdala help us to form and also are formed by our emotional responses, you know? Help us form our emotional responses about things and are also informed and affected by our emotional responses to things. You know? It's all interconnected. Very, very... What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, gosh. Interconnected. There we go. Interdependent. On to the next part. So this is another concept we haven't talked about here on stream yet, but we're going to talk about it tonight because it bears talking about. So what I wanted to talk about when I was talking more about memory and learning, but it bears talking about now. As we talked about, the amygdala is really heavily involved in emotional learning and response, right? Learning how to respond to emotional stimuli, especially fear conditioning. Fear conditioning is very, very strongly mediated here in the amygdala. And that happens due to projections to other cortical areas and via a process called long-term potentiation. We haven't talked about that yet, but we're going to talk about it right now. So long-term potentiation, we've talked about, like, you know, different synapses making connections with one another, different neurons firing together, neural circuitry, right? This is kind of the molecular and biological process that drives just that, right? This, long-term potentiation is your neurons making connections, making synaptic connections with one another. So what happens basically is every time a neuron has an action potential and there's those neurotransmitters released to the synapse, we talked about this ad nauseum over the last couple of weeks. Neurotransmitters are released, they fly across the synapse, they bind with receptor sites on the postsynaptic neuron, and they are reuptaken, they diffuse out into the synapse, they are broken down, any number of things, right? As that happens, every time those connect with a presynaptic or postsynaptic dendrite, there's a little bit of a calcium influx, as well as other ions that come in. And that calcium influx into the postsynaptic neuron, we talked about how there's a presynaptic calcium influx that causes exocytosis. There's also postsynaptic calcium influx, and it helps to regulate how many receptor sites there are on a postsynaptic neuron. That calcium influx will help to stimulate the growth of new receptor sites on a postsynaptic neuron. That's going to make it that much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Sensitive to the signals that the presynaptic neuron might be sending. So that keeps happening, so on and so forth, and there's just a strengthening of that connection between the dendritic spine of a postsynaptic neuron and the axon terminal of the presynaptic neuron. So there's a term, I don't think I've actually said this yet, but there's a saying that neurons that fire together wire together. That's describing a long-term potentiation. Neurons that fire and send signals to one another, or send and receive signals with one another, those tend to form a stronger and stronger synapse through this process called long-term potentiation. It's mediated by a lot of different biological processes and ions and all that stuff. I'm not going to go into that yet. I'll probably save that for another specific section on long-term potentiation. I'm not ready to talk about that in depth just yet, but yeah, that's how this process happens in the amygdala. That's where the conditioning comes in, the fear conditioned responses and conditioned responses to other stimuli as well. Same with positive conditioned responses, associating the smells of your favorite foods to like your memories of them and the taste of them and all that. Yeah, that all happens via long-term potentiation. Let me take a break here for 1 second. Lave, thank you for those 100 biddies, man. Appreciate that. That means we're going to spin the kitty wheel. And I see a couple of comments I need to read just after that. Let's see what fats or I get from this wheel spin. Welcome in, Lave. Good to see you, man. Thank you for that. Them 100 biddies. That boy gets a boop. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Boop. He got it. That boy got a boop. You got one. By the way, session long kitty cam brought to you guys tonight by our friend Erebus Eth, who subbed before the session started tonight, and everybody else who subbed after that. Appreciate you guys reconnecting to the neural net. You guys are the best. Scriba said, quick question though, does anybody happen to know something about sickle cell? I know some about it. What's your specific question there, Scriba? I'd be happy to answer. Neuropilot said, do you think an artificial brain needs to stimulate neurons or just their function, or simulate neurons? Gerbo, gifting a freaking sub to Neuropilot. That's 2 months for Neuropilot. Appreciate that. Neuropilot, thanks for welcome back to the neural net. You've been reconnected, sir. I would have thought Gerbo was going to reconnect themselves to the neural net before anybody else, but look at that generosity. Freaking love it, dude. Exemplifying that generous attitude we got in this community. Thank you, Gerbo. And just you touched a nose? That's what Fat said. Boop. Don't touch my nose, Dad. Ugh. There's that question of the day again for anybody that hasn't answered it. Go for an answer. I'd love to hear what you guys had to say about that. Thanks for that shout out for Lave. Checking out Breath of the Fire 3. Go check him out sometime, guys. Lave actually really likes almonds. I wish I liked almonds more. I've tried them. I can't get into them. I love cashews. Almonds I can't do. I can't do it. Can't do it. Can't freaking do it. Sorry, guys. So, that amygdala, that long-term potentiation, forming those synaptic connections as we learn those different conditioned responses. You know, learning is basically this process in our brain. Learning is long-term potentiation, the formation of stronger synapses between neurons, formation of very specific neural circuits. That is what learning is, you know. The opposite of long-term potentiation is long-term depression. No, not that kind, not the part where you're laying on the couch and you have lack of motivation and lack of feeling and all that. No, not that kind of depression. The opposite of long-term potentiation. This is the selective breakdown of receptor sites and atrophy of dendritic spines or axon terminals as they fire together less in the future. When you forget something, when you unlearn an association, things like that. That takes a long time. Compared to long-term potentiation, long-term depression takes a long time. You know, you might build up new synapses over the course of a couple hours and a good night's sleep. Long-term depression can take hours or days or weeks to unlearn something, you know, or to completely forget about something or things like that, you know. That's kind of what forgetting is, or getting worse at something you used to be pretty good at, or, you know, knowing less about a subject that you used to know more about. That's long-term depression at work, which is why you keep some of those things, but not all of them. Usually the stuff you learned less, and if you don't use it, you'll lose it. You know, that's long-term depression at work. If you're not going to use that particular synapse, it's not going to be there anymore, and the energy of those two neurons is going to go to forming synapses elsewhere and you learning other things instead. And that is that. Leif said, needed a bit of chill before the night got too long. Hey, no worries, man. More like a defreshen. Appreciate that. Sorry, did I say learning is? I did say Gerbo. I did say that. Yeah. Learning, pretty much like what we would call learning, that is long-term potentiation at work. The building of stronger synapses between neurons, right? Building up those stronger neural circuits within our brain. That's what learning is. Learning is building stronger association between neurons. That's it. That's what it is. And the opposite of that, or forgetting, or, you know, losing some of the information that you had, that's long-term depression. It's a much, much slower process than long-term potentiation. Build a brain? Yeah, that's basically it, yeah. The things that you do and the things you do all the time, the things you pay attention to, you'll be very good at. For instance, like I pay attention to neuroscience a lot. I know a lot about it. I pay literally zero attention to fashion. I suck at it. I have no idea what the hell is up with fashion. Most art, I don't know a damn thing about it. I just don't pay attention to those things. That might surprise people. Physics, I don't know a lot about physics, honestly. Like physics is a branch of science that I just never really got into. I don't know a ton about it. I really don't. which is unfortunate because if you kind of delve deep enough into any science, you're going to get aspects of physics in there too. You need to. So it's something I should know more about and will when I need to, but I just never got into it. So I know not very much about that. But biology, chemistry, neuroscience, I got that stuff more. Oh. Physics doesn't come into neuroscience much. Oh, it does. It does. If you're looking at like specific, if you want to, I would think if you want to describe how exactly neurotransmitters move and the exact potentials of like membrane potentials and stuff like that, how much certain neurotransmitters will change membrane potentials and, you know, energy of binding and all that kind of stuff, you're going to get into physics somewhere in there. Chemistry for sure, and also physics, I would guess as well. It's going to come down to it. Neuropilot says there's a few senior tactical jet pilots in the 70s and 80s. If they keep current, they are quite sharp in their skills. Yep, absolutely. You can remember stuff for a long time. Neuroscience is indeed interesting. In fact, learning, you know, stimulating long-term potentiation throughout your life, not just maintenance of circuits you already have, but actively growing new synapses and connecting other parts of your brain, i.e. learning things you've never learned before. Great way to stave off dementia, things like that, which dementia is a process that happens to everybody as they get older. You just kind of lose some of your mental faculty. It's part of getting old. It's like your body atrophies, your brain atrophies too. But learning, always learning brand new things and keeping yourself diverse in your learning throughout your life. Great way to stave that off. I'm not saying it's going to protect you forever and you'll never get Alzheimer's or any sort of dementia, but it's going to make your brain stay that much healthier. Just like working out every day is going to help keep your body strong into old age. You're going to die eventually, but you will have a stronger body for longer. Works the same way with your brain. You know, teach it, work it out, strengthen it, stretch it. You're going to have a stronger brain for a longer time. Chuck Yeager still flies jets sometimes. He's 95. See, exactly. Yep. Keep doing it. Stay active. Let your body and brain know that you want to use it still. It's gonna stay working for longer. Let's see here. And just says also, because your classes this semester demand it, you got access to Adobe Premiere again. Yay! All right, dude, that's awesome. Glad for you. NSC, y'all took. Oh, I got some stuff to catch up on. Scriba said, I'm supposed to figure out how the genetic mutation might have happened that made the red blood cells adapt a sickle form and made them immune to be invaded by malaria. Oh yeah. I would say that's just natural selection, is it? There was maybe some sort of well, he's just trying to figure out how that genetic mutation might have happened. I don't know. I don't know enough about genetic mutation to say that, but yeah, I don't know. It could have been just a chance mutation. That's a very, very slim chance. It could have been any number of things. I don't know why, but there's a reason why it was selectively bred, because people didn't die from malaria as often that had it. In fact, people that have sickle cell are immune to malaria. For those of you who didn't know that, we often see sickle cell and anemia as a blood disorder, and it is in a lot of respects, but people with that are immune to malaria too. So there's an evolutionary reason for people to have that disorder, you know. Yeah, I have no idea, Screeb. I could not help you with that, unfortunately. Sorry. I know stuff. That's what I know about sickle cell. I don't know much about the genetics of it. Sorry. It's a great question for the Knowledge Fellowship, though. Feel free to check out that Discord link down below. The Knowledge Fellowship, somebody in there could probably help you with that. They have legit PhDs in biology on hand there. Very sharp geneticists. They could probably help you out with that. Hey, Fat Boy some more treats in his dish. I see that y'all took out Fur Ninja Shinji Naka, which means this little fat boy is getting another treat. And y'all are getting some kitty cam. Thank you guys requesting yet again for Fat Boy's Fat Belly Fun. I'm bringing it to you, little fatty fat fat. He appreciates it. I appreciate it. You all love it. It's a win-win-win. Oh, good boy. Oh my gosh. You'll light up my life every day, Fats. I love you. Leif said, neat factoid I've heard recently. There's a recent line of study that seems to correlate Alzheimer's to a particular type of hearing loss. Interesting. It might be related to hearing loss, either as an expression of that gene or that hearing loss causes the cascade of memory loss. I don't know. Or maybe just there's a breakdown in a specific part of the auditory cortex as well. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's interesting. I'd love to see more about that, Leif. You can post links. Yes, you are a sub, Nero. You can post links. Absolutely. If you are a sub, you have open access to post links. I trust you. You'll be good. You got a coffee, Red? You know what to do about that. Oh, you're out altogether? Oh, no. Ooh. The world doesn't want to see Red out of coffee. Oh, no problem, Scree, but yeah, absolutely. Knowing that they make you immune to malaria and such is all you need to know about it. Yep, that's basically all most people need to know about it. Except people that actually live with it, they need to know, you know, what sort of, you know, limitations they might have. Less efficient to carrying oxygen, so. Do it, Lave. Do it. There it is. Thank you, Neuropilot. There's the link to the Knowledge Fellowship Discord. Feel free to ask any... sorry, I said the Knowledge Fellowship, right? I think I said the Neuroscience Fellowship. That's not what I meant. The Knowledge Fellowship Discord. Ask your science-related questions there. I'm sure somebody can help you out. So many different knowledgeable people there. Go for it. See a lot of progress on Alzheimer's studies lately. Oh, there's a ton of research going into Alzheimer's. Yeah, absolutely. That's something I should talk about. Hey, appreciate that, Leif. Thank you. Thank you. Feel free to throw it in the science section, too. I'm sure other people would love looking at that, too. Anyways, that's long-term potentiation and long-term depression. That's how connections are made and broken down in the amygdala and also the rest of your brain. That's what learning is. So learning these different fear conditions or conditioning, fear conditioning, other positive conditioning between stimulus and response, all handled by LTP and LTD. Griff thingy. Thank you for the host, my friend. How the heck are you, Griff? Hope you're doing well. Tell us what's good, what's new with you. Tell me how to stop coughing. I would appreciate all those things. So, damage to the amygdala. We haven't talked about this yet. Damage to the amygdala. That kind of interferes with the learning and expression of those classically conditioned fear responses, or setting off fight or flight responses in response to certain stimuli that you've learned are fearful. So which would, yeah, equate to those things we talked about there, the fight or flight response. Also, that might also damage associations or positive associations as well. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. I saw a case where that, or heard of a case where that happened. Doing well, super sleepy? No worries, Griff. I got you, man. Are you taking that sleepy medications? He was playing some Twitch sings with his community. If you guys want to go see a red panda on Twitch sing sometime, go check out Griff Thingy. He also talks about that mental health as well, and is a super positive dude. I enjoy spending time with him. Wish I got to see him more. Take a proper rest for your vocal folds? Yes, do it, please. Rest those vocal folds after singing, for sure. More, I think streamers need to be aware of that too. Drink that water. Give yourself total vocal rest for a while. Try and manage snoring if you can. It's very hard on you as well. Anyways. So yeah, damage to the amygdala can make it more difficult to ascribe or help us learn, different responses to certain stimuli. Also, increased emotion following an event, e.g. No, it is i.e. stronger activation of the amygdala, feeling more emotional about something, whether that be positive or negative emotion, increases retention or recall of that event. So, for instance, really scary events, you always remember. You don't want to forget those, especially scary ones. Events where you were super pissed about something, you gotta remember that. Events where you were extremely happy, you're also more likely to remember that. The more emotional about something, the more emotionally invested in something you are, the more likely it is you're going to remember that sort of thing, right? Definitely. For instance, they showed this in an experiment with rats. They injected substances that either enhanced or impaired amygdala function, either excitatory or inhibitory substances in the amygdala, and that increased or decreased their ability to learn in tasks. What's the word I'm looking for? Respectively, right? So when they injected a substance that enhanced amygdala activity, they were better able to learn a certain task. I think they were talking about going through mazes or using a water maze. For those of you guys who don't know what a water maze is, it's something they'll often use to test learning in rats. rate of learning, a rate of forgetting, things like that. So a water maze is they'll put a rat into a thing of water where it has to swim initially, and to the rat, like, it just looks like it's just an expanse of water. However, just below the surface of the water, where the rat could stand on it but it can't see it, just below the surface of the water there is a surface that the rat can stand on and thus not drown. I'm sure researchers don't just let the rats drown. They they let them swim until it looks like they're very tired, and they take them out if they can't find the where the platform is in the water. So they'll use that to kind of gauge learning as well. If the rat can get in there and learn where that platform is when they put them in the same tank, that's seen as learning as well. So rats that had something injected in, or an excitatory substance injected into their amygdala that made them feel that increased emotional arousal, were better able to learn those kinds of those sorts of tasks than rats that had something inhibitory injected into their amygdala, which decreased their emotional response to those tasks, and they were thus not able to learn those tasks as quickly or as strongly. Which means it takes longer for them to learn it, and they would forget them more quickly. Retacular says, water maze is how it feels when you can't find the toilet and you really gotta pee. Something like that, yeah. Or it's how it feels like when you're in a pool, right, and you think you're just trying to find that spot where you can stand up, but you're not quite there yet, and then suddenly, oh, I'm in the shallow end and I can stand up now. Kind of like that, Gerbo said, so stronger emotions means better learning generally. Not generally, but yes, it does. If you ascribe a stronger emotion to whatever you're trying to learn, or whatever situation you've been in, usually it's going to be episodic memory. That you'll have a stronger memory for that thing. Absolutely, yes. Night, everybody, says Griff. Night, Griff. Good to see you. Would love to stay and watch more of you. Growing smarter every day with us. Thank you. Sensei Beta. Appreciate that. Missing your streaming is like missing leveling up IRL. Missing your streams as well, Griff. I mean, missing your streams is like missing a dose of just happy, I appreciate going by and seeing you do what you do, but I don't get to catch you as often as I get to, or as often as I'd like, so. Peace out, Griff. Sleep well. Take it easy. Have a good rest. Guys, I want to talk about this last point here in a second. Very interesting case, but I really need to use the bathroom. I've been drinking a lot of water today, so I need to go do that real quick. I'm gonna come back in just a minute, and we will continue in just a moment. So feel free to take your own brain break, bathroom break, all those things. We'll see you in just a minute to finish this up. BRB. There we go. We back. I was hitting the wrong button. Come up a little fast. Oh, let me catch up. Griff thing you took off. All right, no problem. Gerbo asks, is that part of why depression can affect memory? Yes. Yes. Okay, yes. So we're talking about how increased emotional content can strengthen memory. Decreased emotional content following a memory will decrease the strength of that memory. Absolutely. Depression can affect, your memory. That's why I say there's memory, not necessarily memory deficits, but memory changes when you're actively depressed, if you're in a, depressive episode. Many people feel or say that, I think the common way of thinking about depression is the person that is depressed is sad. Not necessarily true. You might have a little bleak outlook on the world, but really a person that's depressed is likely not feeling anything, Their emotional arousal overall is just blunted, It's a blunted emotional affect. They aren't feeling much of anything, good, bad, just nothing. Which is why there comes a lack of motivation to do things as well. Since overall emotional arousal is lowered in a person that is depressed, there's also going to be difficulty with ascribing and recalling new memories formed during that time. So yes, Gerbo, absolutely. I love how you made that connection. Yes, love it. Ash, welcome on in. Good to see you. Bad Boy's here. How you doing, Ash? Good to see you. Gerbo said, I feel less bad for my shitty memory now. Yeah. If you struggle with depression, yes, you can say a big part of that is your depression, unfortunately. And also you can hope. I hope you can keep fighting the good fight and doing something about it. Nina, thanks for that warm welcome. Appreciate you, friend. Absolutely. So, we were talking about, we've been talking about how damage to the amygdala can cause, difficulty with conditioned responses, especially fear responses. Case in point, there's this woman named patient SM. She had a disease called Urbach-Vita disease. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know how to actually pronounce it. I couldn't find a place that was pronouncing that I could trust. But I'm going to call it Urbach-Vita disease. So patient SM has had, well, she's still alive, I would guess, has Urbach-Vita disease. What that is, it's basically it's a disorder of lipids, a disorder of fats in your body. It can cause a lot of skin differences and stuff like that. More importantly, for what we're talking about, it can cause a hardening of certain parts of the brain, eventually killing those parts of the brain off. And in her case, pretty much just her amygdala were hardened and killed off. And so she, since late childhood, had essentially no amygdala. She had none whatsoever. Problematic for a number of reasons. Most importantly for her, they found when they tested her across a range of emotions that she was able to feel, talk about, describe, things like that. She just was not, she had no fear. Like literally no fear response to anything, right? Took her to a haunted house, nothing. Stuff that's supposed to be normally scary to her, nothing. Like, hey, they chuck a snake at her and she just catch it and, oh, hey, it's a snake, cool. Like no fear response, no whoa, no, nothing, no startling, nothing, none of that, no fear. Which sounds like, oh wow, that'd be cool. No, that's actually really freaking dangerous. Because she can't tell when something is like a danger to her. She can't sense like dangerous things. Despite she'd been, I heard described she lived in kind of a low SES more violent area in her city that she lived in, and a way she'd walk home from work is by going through this vacant lot. And one night she got robbed at knife point, and she survived and all that stuff. But no reaction, not much of a reaction out of her. And following nights, normally a person, if they got mugged in that area, they would not go back. She, whatever, just kept walking straight through that area to go home. No difference. Got mugged again. I'm like, she couldn't learn that that's not a good thing to do because there's danger there. She just doesn't have that response. Not only that, but she just didn't really even have like a cognitive like concept of fear. She had some artistic ability, and she was able to draw emotions. You know, she drew like a happy face and other things like that with some good detail. When it came time to draw a fear, like a scared or fearful face, like she couldn't do it. She couldn't draw any sort of like fearful like expression at all. The best they got out of her was like a crawling baby with like hairs on its head standing on end, like a really like caricaturized expression. It wasn't even accurate. Like I couldn't even tell what it was supposed to be until I read it. Like she couldn't identify like even what fear was anymore, you know? So I mean, yeah, like they always say, like we talked about this before, feel no pain, like that's not a good thing. That's very dangerous. You know, they always say like feel no fear. Like those are actually two very dangerous things if you're trying to survive on this planet or anywhere. Like you need to feel pain and you need to feel fear so that you know what the hell to stay away from and when to attend to yourself, you know? Like those are actually really important things. And yeah, SM has just literally no fear response. She felt and could express other emotions, which says that maybe the amygdala isn't the seat of every emotion if she was able to express most other emotions and feel them as well. But just fear response, nothing. Literally nothing. That's not good, Red. You should be. Just saying. Also, quest time. As said, semi-related, you can live without certain parts of your brain, if you recall correctly. Yeah, you can. I mean, Phineas Gage did, for sure. You can be born without parts of your brain and usually still live. I mean, it depends on which parts they are and stuff like that. Your brain can learn to ascribe the functions that would have been in those areas that are missing to other areas instead. There was a woman who was born with half a brain, and she was, I mean, had a lot of deficits, but was still alive and kicking and able to get about, but like half of her brain just wasn't there, you know? But she was still able to use both sides of her body and all that stuff because she was born that way. Her brain was able to develop differently and kind of compensate for that as much as it could. She was not at all fully functioning, but she was still functioning. Gerbo said if you can't feel pain, there's people that walk around with wounds, not noticing and stuff and not tending to them. Exactly, Gerbo, yeah. People that are paralyzed, big difficulty for them. They have to make sure that like if they get hit or something that, you know, they check it and see if they're bleeding or whatnot, because they won't know otherwise, right? Orange said, if I remember, putting a mask on her so she couldn't breathe did actually create a fear response. Really? I hadn't heard about that, Ninja. I wonder if that creates a fear response or if it just creates a sense of urgency and like I can't breathe, I gotta take this off. I don't know. I didn't hear about that. I didn't see anything about that. I would love to know more about that, Ninja. It wouldn't surprise me that some things create a fear response in her. You know, like that isn't completely gone, but for the most part, nothing. Nothing at all. And dangerous. Dangerous for sure. Red got rid of his fear response with too many creepypastas. No good, man. I see you guys took out Fang the Panther Disciple, which means little Fat Boy gets a treat. Y'all get some kitty cam. Thank you guys for donating again to Fat Boy's Fat Belly Fund, dedicated to keeping him the fattest little kitty on Twitch. He appreciates it. I appreciate it. You all love it. It is a win-win-win. I you little fat lab assistant. I freaking love you. Should I get covered up or what? Let's see what he thinks about that. BRB Nina? Alright, see you in a couple hours. Gerbo, Flexi Brain, indeed. Red Tackler was born without a brain, I didn't realize that. Just a little dude up there in your head, just with a steering wheel and some buttons. I had no idea. It's crazy. Crazy, Red. No idea. His tail is small. It so totally is. Alright. That's patient SM. Very interesting case for sure. Neuropilot said, one story, I met somebody who had an artery fail. She lost a lot of her brain tissue on one side, but was substantially functional. Yep. So depending on how it's damaged, what parts are damaged, all that stuff, you can retain a lot of function still. She had a stroke, it sounds like. And yeah, depending on where that is, you can regain a lot of that function. I'm guessing initially she was very impaired, but over the next year regained some of the function, about as much as she was going to. A lot of research shows that after a brain injury, within that first year is when you're going to make those gains. You gain back the functions that you lost, as much as you can. After that, yeah, there's still improvement, but it's much more slow, Within that first year is that critical period. It's a good time for whatever therapy you're going to go through. You want that to start as soon as possible within that first year. That's when you're going to make those gains. Ooh. Next slide. There's a lot of research out there saying that there are what are called dimorphisms, differences in the brain based on whether or not you are male or female. Well, a lot of those are largely disproven or inconclusive, at least as far as the amygdala goes. Okay. I even quoted one of these studies when I was, no, I didn't. I quoted a different study. But I was looking at these kind of studies when I made a YouTube video all about the negativity bias. I don't think I quoted anything about males and females. I might have. I hope I didn't. But there's simply those weren't as in-depth as they should have been, those studies. There was a thought for a long time that males had larger amygdalae than females, so they were going to have, larger emotional responses and all that stuff than females, but that's not true if you think about males and females. Both males and females have really strong emotional responses to things. And yeah, many studies, including a 2016 meta-analysis, are basically looking at a bunch of different studies on the same subject and putting those all together and drawing inferences from those and conclusions from those. That study showed that there's no difference when you consider the total brain volume. So if there are people of either sex that had a larger amygdala than average, if you looked at their brain volume, it was larger too. So if you look at the percentage of their brain that is amygdala compared to everybody else, pretty much the same, or really no significant difference between sexes or even in sexes. So yeah, that's really just not true. There isn't anything like that. And there isn't really a lot of strong evidence showing that there is dimorphisms or differences in brain size between the typical genders of male and female. And I don't know this for sure, but I would guess that there's probably also not in homosexual males and females or transgender people. That's just simply there isn't science to really support that. So there is research being done on it, I'm sure, but I mean, there's just nothing coming of it. We have similarly functioning brains in that way. We are similar. So Neuropilot wanted to scream at this person's husband, or yeah, at this woman's husband, making half a brain jokes. Oh yeah, that's not cool at all. Jeez. He has his PhD in non-clinical theology still. Yeah. Couldn't resist reminding them one of the top people had 3 PhDs. That's freaking ridiculous, Neuropilot. I wish that the person had been more sensitive to his wife's plight. I'm very sorry to hear that. Yeah, her husband sounds incredibly insensitive. He did. Yes. Wow. It's really not cool. Yeah, that's booty butt cheeks. Oh no, Bada's sub was out. Jeez, I didn't see that. Yeah. So yeah, sexual dimorphisms in the brain, especially in the amygdala, not really a thing. At least not yet. Studies are just not coming up with anything conclusive, or they're just nothing solid on that. Nope. Maybe slightly different in neuronal activity between male and female, but not clearly defined. Yep, I was going to talk about that. So what there are differences in, especially, or at least in the amygdala, there are differences in androgen levels or receptors. Androgens being testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, things like that. There are differences between sexes in levels of those neurotransmitters and slash hormones, however you want to call them, and receptor sites within the amygdala. So there are differences there, right? So the structure of the amygdala between the sexes is different in this regard, especially while developing. And receptors in the amygdala, those kind of preferentially bind to testosterone, so there's stronger connections made with testosterone. And for those of you who don't know, both sexes, everybody basically has some level of testosterone. Males, or more male gendered prone people, more male gender identifying people, have higher testosterone typically. Males definitely do. People born male definitely do, Women have testosterone too, just less of it, a lot less. So this difference in androgen level and binding and receptor sites throughout the amygdala, that's going to change the distribution of receptors and connections within the amygdala, especially while you're growing, which is going to change connections throughout the brain and cause basically differences in emotional responses, stuff like that. So that's where there is a difference between males and females, and there's probably differences in the non-cis genders as well, but I didn't see any or specifically look for any research on that yet either, just given the basics here, but I'm sure that there's interesting research on that as well. For instance, men and women watching the same, I don't know what, oh, I just missed the word women there. Men and women watching the same emotionally charged movie that cause differential activation, activation of the amygdala when recalling the movie later. So the right amygdala activated more in men when they were recalling that movie, and the left amygdala activated more in women when they were recalling the movie. So I mean, they both recalled the movie similarly, but they used different parts of their amygdala, or different parts of their amygdala activated when they were recalling it, which says it's wired up a little differently, you know? And likely due to the differences in androgen levels and receptors within their amygdalae. So that was kind of a myth, a bit of a myth, those dimorphisms between male and female that I came across and wanted to put out there that good information. That's not a thing. Not really a thing, especially not, at least not in the amygdala. Oftentimes when we talk about neuroscience subjects, we finish up with a summary. Tonight we're not going to do that because, again, this isn't as much of a process and pathway based discussion, but we're going to instead finish up tonight with some interesting tidbits all about the amygdala. But first, Neuropilot said, somebody once told your friend women can't fly fighters as good as a male pilot. Her response was, go grab your flight gear. All right. Which was flight gear, eye gear? What? I don't know what that means. Oh, I dare you. I dare you, which is twice as funny because this guy hadn't flown anything more than a Cessna. Sure couldn't fly a fighter. Got him! I love that. I love that when not just necessarily women show up men like that, but when like people show up another cocky person like that. That's amazing. I don't care what gender you are. Awesome. Put that cocky person's face right in the mud. Wrecked him. Got him. Isn't a Cessna a training plane? It's just a small plane, Gerbo. It's used for training. I've technically flown a Cessna for a bit. This is a very small, like kind of two-seater plane usually, and I would guess used for training purposes. Yeah. So, interesting info about the amygdala we haven't talked about yet. So beings, I put that as because humans or animals without any amygdala can experience what is called Kluver-Bucy syndrome, which brings about this interesting set of symptoms, right? They include a lack of fear response, like SM had, also hypersexuality, they'll kind of go up and like interact with and, you know, rub up all over whatever they find. Hyperactivity, so they're out and about looking at everything. Since there's no fear response, they aren't slowing down and looking for danger. Also oral fixations, they'll just kind of put stuff in their mouth that they wouldn't normally put in their mouth, which is interesting. And I say it sometimes causes Kluver-Bucy syndrome because, you know, SM didn't have that. She lacked an amygdala. She only had the lack of fear response. She didn't really have these other things. As far as it was mentioned, maybe she had some smattering of these things, but for the most part it was the lack of fear response. So I think it depends, it seems to depend on when you have damage to the amygdala. It's maybe wired differently throughout your life, you know? People that develop from like very, very young childhood without amygdala may have a stronger showing of these symptoms. Remember SM had her amygdala damage when late childhood, so you know she had a long time to develop with normally functioning amygdala, or at least somewhat impaired amygdala, and those likely, you know, changed how her brain was wired. Thus the, you know, lack of fear response, but, you know, intact other responses, things like that. I think it just demonstrates the interconnectedness and interdependency of the central nervous system anatomy during development, how it all changes and connects together, for sure. There's another interesting, it's not written down here, but there was another interesting experiment that I read about done on damaging the amygdala and seeing, you know, the effects of this, the lack of fear response. What some clever researchers did with monkeys is they ablated, or they lesioned, or they destroyed, essentially, one side of the amygdala on one side of the brain. So they had one side destroyed amygdala, one side of the brain was fully functioning amygdala. And then they also sliced what was called the optic chiasm. Gosh, I should have had a picture of this. Oh well. We talked about this in the visual system discussion, but the optic chiasm is where the optic nerves from each of your eyes kind of meet in the center of your brain and cross. Such that visual information from each eye goes to each side of the brain. Like half of each retina goes to each side of the brain. So they cut that part so that only information from the lateral portions of each eye was going to the ipsilateral, or same side of the brain instead. So basically visual information wasn't crossing over to the other side of the brain anymore. It was staying on the same side. Gerbo Google's optic chiasm. I think, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Do it if you need to. So, yeah, basically they had monkeys that had part of their visual field attached to no amygdala, and part of their visual field attached to, yes, good functioning amygdala, right? Now, these monkeys were caught from the wild, so normally when humans entered the area that they were in, they would show a fear response. They would, they might become aggressive, they would back up, they would go into defensive postures, they would run away, things like that. So they found that when they took these monkeys that had one side of their brain, one side of their amygdala ablated, the other side not, and they covered up one of their eyes, made it so they could only see out of one of their eyes, they reacted differently. One of them, they covered up the side of their brain, or covered up the eye that was on the side of the brain with the good working amygdala. The monkeys exhibited Kluver-Bucy syndrome symptoms. They would just walk right up to researchers. They would show no fear response, whatever. Just didn't really matter. They didn't seem to mind the researchers at all, because the eye that they were seeing through was going to no amygdala, so they couldn't. It wouldn't set off a fear response. They switched over the vision, so they couldn't see out of that damaged side of their brain anymore, and they had the eye that was connecting to the good part of the amygdala still. Boom, that fear response is right back. And that was specific to vision, because they found, researchers found that they touched monkeys on either side of their body, they exhibited that fear response and sometimes aggression. So somehow the information of touch from both sides of the bodies was still getting to that one good side of their amygdala. So really interesting study, able to show that within the same monkey, that difference in laterality and fear response. Interesting stuff. We'll catch up here a little bit. Funny story, says Neuropilot. Your friend, her grandfather's still flying in his 80s. She came across Chuck Yeager, criticized her F-16. She told him she has an F5 in the hangar. But are you egress qualified, sir? He replies, do you know who I am? General Charles Yeager, who crashed 5 planes in 5 years. Got him. Years later, her grandfather, mother, and her settled their differences and took Yeager and his wife up in the jets. That's good. That's a fun story. So they like to talk a little smack on the runway once in a while. Let's see. Gerbo says it looks like a pom-pom on tongs. What does? Gerbo, what does? Gosh. Ooh, sorry guys. Still a little congested, still a little sick. Sorry about that, guys. So, that was interesting. I thought an interesting experiment. There's also an older man. I saw a video of this when I was in grad school. There was an older man that had no amygdala. He had specific damage, had knocked out his amygdala. And he didn't feel any emotions anymore. He was just a totally logical, rational being. He didn't feel anything anymore. And perhaps it wasn't the amygdala, but I'm pretty darn sure it was. So he just wasn't able to express feelings anymore. He could make rational, logical decisions. They could say If you offered him, like, I can give you $5 or I can give you $10, which one do you want? He'd want the more money, of course. But if you asked him, like, hey, do you want to go to this restaurant or this restaurant? He'd be like, I don't know. Like, he just didn't have a preference, He wasn't able to make those kind of emotional decisions because he couldn't feel the emotions. He had no emotional attachment to that stuff anymore. Not only that, but, he just couldn't feel, like, feelings for his wife anymore. Like, he knew, like, he was supposed to love her. And, like, he, acted as though he did. He stayed with her and all that stuff. But, like, when she kind of knew that when he said, like, hey, I love you, like, he doesn't feel it, He means it more logically and, like, that he's supposed to, not that he actually felt it anymore. It's like kind of sad and stuff like that, but still. Neuropilot says, my friend's a student with our kid with autism who has moderately severe TBI. Oh man, sorry to hear that. She has contralateral touch sensitivity sometimes. Got it. She doesn't properly perceive which side she has touched. Yeah, it's an OT thing. I would guess that she gets a lot of occupational therapy for that kind of thing. I would guess. Yeah, TBI, Gerbo is traumatic brain injury. Basically, any sort of like damage to the brain falls under that umbrella. Concussions are also a form of TBI. All the same umbrella. So, there might be some consistent differences in amygdala volume or functioning in people with different psychological disorders, like depression, anxiety, bipolar, PTSD, borderline personality disorder, but at the time I looked at this stuff, evidence is kind of sparse for those kind of things. So, I mean, there's a lot of there's research going into that, but we can't tell if there is really consistent differences in volume and functioning in these in people with these disorders. It's often thought that anxiety and PTSD is like an overactive amygdala response, especially PTSD, like a really, really super strong amygdala response to certain stimuli, which is why there's the hair trigger response to loud noises or sounds in bushes or whatnot for people with PTSD. We had a community member in here talking about his experience with PTSD and how he's just out the door with a gun, like at the slightest provocation. Not provocation, but the slightest noise, because he was in the military and he had a lot of those responses really heavily ingrained within him, and now it's hard to turn those off, It's like people with PTSD, like they're just off on that fight or flight response before the frontal lobe even has a chance to start to say, whoa, let's calm this down, let's inhibit that, let's not go do that, let's think this through instead. And they just don't even have a chance to do that. It's a very, very hair trigger fight or flight response for sure, and problematic sometimes. Neuropilot says she gets top medical care. Spent 18 months in rehab before they sent her home to her lawyer/adopted mother. Good. Sounds like she needed it. Hope her quality of life is up there somewhere. It's likely she'll be living with people the rest of her life, I would think, but I hope she is able to enjoy some life. Neuropilot said, after I crashed my car, I couldn't relate to my family emotionally. Did fine with your friends and friends' family when she was little, and her mom and grandfather like a new family. Same three involved in the encounter with Jaeger. Okay, interesting. I mean, like, trauma changes people, People that come back from armed conflict and stuff like that come back with PTSD and, like, feel like they can't relate to the people that weren't there with them anymore. Like, their war buddies, they can talk with them and relate with them, but, like, people that weren't out there on the field with them, like, they don't have that same connection anymore. Like, their friends, their family that they used to have, like, you weren't there. You don't know. I can't talk to you about it, They should. It's very, very good for them to do so, but they don't feel like they can a lot of times. I've heard it described in different writings and different interviews and stuff like that. Like, they can't relate to the same people anymore. Much as they would like to, It can be the same thing after your car crash, Neuropilot. I mean, that's a very traumatic experience, for sure. Random letters, welcome in, man. Good to see you. How the heck are you? I see Kyle soloed Calico Casey, which means this little buried fat boy right here gets a treat. Y'all get some kitty cam. Thank you guys for donating again to Fat Boy's Fat Belly Fund. Dedicated to keeping him the fattest kitty on Twitch. He appreciates it. I appreciate it. Y'all love it. It's a win-win-win. Okay. Good boy, yeah. How the heck are you, random letters? What's good? What's new? How was your weekend? Exclamation point Q if you want to answer our baller question of the day today. It's an important one. Neuropilot said, I hated driving cars. I usually kept my checklist on my knee. It was intense. More intense than being a simulator tech with FE. Yep, not bad. Especially after a big accident like that. A very life-threatening accident like that, yeah. But that was very scary. You just have a strong aversion to it, you know? Even though you realize, like, I don't need to be scared of this, like, it's still, you have a... you just have that nervous system response, you know? Same with me and dogs. Like, I still don't like dogs because of the bad experiences I had with them, you know? Like, I know I don't need to feel badly about the like negative feelings towards them, but I just don't want them around. I don't like it. You don't like dags? I don't, Ninja. Nope. I think we've been over this on stream before. Yeah, not a big fan. It was a no dag household. Under attack from what? Oh, I guess I never said. When I've been reading it, I've been saying it. Aliens. Under attack from aliens. Random letters. Hey, peace out, Brain Dead Kyle. Good to see you, man. Thank you for hanging out. Thanks for the conversation. Great to learn about you as always. And we're firing up my time at Porsche pretty quick. So mindfulness. You guys probably heard about mindfulness, right? That technique that, you know, meditation, things like that, that people rave about in working through trauma, things like that, or controlling emotions, working through anxiety. They tout it in PTSD as well. Helps some people, doesn't help others. But this mindfulness technique, it's thought to strengthen connections between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala along those oh gosh, what was the area called? Let me go back. Along the intercalated nuclei that we talked about, right? Those areas in between the basolateral and central and medial areas that with the very strong projections, strong inhibitory projections from the prefrontal cortex. That's going to help inhibit or lessen that amygdala response, that emotional response to stimuli. In this case, usually fearful stimuli. Yeah, that allows more easily the PFC, the prefrontal cortex, to inhibit that activity more frequently and more successfully by using that mindfulness technique of really extra engaging that prefrontal cortex and feeling those emotions, thinking them through, like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling really scared about this. Why is that? Let me feel that emotion. I'm not gonna, or let me just know that emotion's there. I'm gonna let it go. You know, just thinking, trying to be more in touch with those emotions, right? You know, think of them more consciously and just very, very much improve that connection between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. And that's kind of what that's doing. It's strengthening that neural connection between those two so that you're more likely or more easily able, I guess, to inhibit that amygdala response in the future. If you practice this. Some people, you know, try some mindfulness and think, hey, this is BS. I don't want to freaking do this anymore. It's crap. I'm done. But you know, for some people it works, and that's kind of the neural basis for it, is strengthening that connection between amygdala and prefrontal cortex, that inhibitory pathway. High-tech aliens or redneck? High-tech ones, random letters. High-tech for show. Random letters says Teddy Roosevelt. Hey, that's the three for Teddy tonight. Me and Ninja said the same thing. And Tsar Bomba. It's pretty self-explanatory. What's Tsar Bomba? Is it what piece of technology is that? I don't know what that is. Neuropilot has a question. Do you think an artificial brain... Oh, you asked this earlier. I'm sorry. I just totally didn't even get back to it. I'm sorry. I think there was a big raid or something like that. Sorry about that. Thank you for asking again. He asks, or he or she, this person asks, do you think an artificial brain needs to stimulate neurons or simulate neurons or just their function? Well, I would say that if an artificial brain simulates the functions of neurons enough, then it's basically going to become one, you know? It's basically going to act like one, and in a sense, be a neuron, you know? I think if you... Yeah, I mean, I think a neuron is described by both its function and structure. It doesn't need to be structurally a neuron, but it needs to function like one. So I'd say for all intents and purposes, yeah, it would be like an electronic neuron, for sure. But I think it's more important that, I guess, to answer your question, it's more important that it emulates function, not structure. I'd say that for us, we need that structure, but it doesn't have to be done that way. I think that in any sort of electronic or mechanical system, it might be similar, you know? I don't know enough about that to say how similar, but I think it's more important that they function similarly. They don't have to be the same, but they would end up being very similar if they were similar enough in function. You know, 50 megaton nuke. Oh, I did not know this. Got it. That'll do it, I guess. The biggest nuclear bomb ever created. Well, I guess if you want to make sure make sure no one's getting the Earth, sure. All right. That's how random letters would do it. Got it. And Teddy's a badass. Yes, he is. Yes. And it's Tsar Bomba, not Tsar. Ooh, okay. Ooh, flip that scarf back, adjust those glasses. No, okay. Nero pilot would get General David Goldfein or General Kevin Chilton in a B-2 bomber, a B-21 for the Alien War. Of course he would, man. Good answer. Expect nothing less. It was an RDS-220 hydrogen bomb detonated by the Soviets. Yeah. That was during the Cold War. As the, if I'm not mistaken, strongest non-nuclear bomb ever made. Very strong one. Ninja's dropping those. Ninja dropping some knowledge. RDS-220s. Got him. Ah, man. Can't wait to be done coughing, like, forever. Alright, guys. That was all about the amygdala. That was the amygdala in a nutshell. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned. I know I did. We're going to move on over to my time at Porsche. We're going to experience some of my time at Porsche now. Other people have been experiencing their time at Porsche. Now we're going to experience my time. So, I usually take a break right now after the Neuro portion, but I did that earlier and I don't feel the need to do that now. So we're just going to move right into it. Here we go. Let me go ahead and switch over our title and such first. Let everybody know we're playing some My Time at Porsche. Guess checked this out for about 30 seconds yesterday, just to get the controls all down and stuff like that. Make sure the windows are in the right spot and all that business. So don't know much else about this game, honestly. I've seen a little bit of people playing it, but not much. I'm gonna stop this music. My Time at Porsche has its own music we'll be listening to.